one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning again. We'll officially call our February 27th meeting to order. And with that, first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We have both the minutes of February 13th and February 20th. I think we'll do them independently. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes as submitted for February 13th.
Motion to approve February 13th, 2024 minutes.
Motion, we need a second.
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. February 20th minutes.
Motion to approve February 20th, 2024 minutes.
Second.
Okay, motion is second on February the 20th. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Commissioners' reports and comments. Commissioner Wagner, you want to go first today?
Sure. Good morning. Not a whole lot. Dave Hannenberger Rotary Bull and Oyster Roast was this past weekend. It was a huge event. I guess there was 1,300 people there. It was a lot of fun. Was able to attend the Long Meadow Fire Company banquet. Congratulations to all the recipients of awards, and thank you for the invitation. And it was held at Fountainhead, and it was a very nice event. Just a reminder that Home Builder Association home show is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So you try to make it out there and support all of our local contractors and vendors and anybody that that has things available to our community. I wanted to thank Chris Boggs with the Washington County Planner for Preservation. I was able to attend a roundtable discussion with him with Marbedco, which is actually a land preservation program. Just a reminder that the commissioners are all very much moving forward with land preservation, and Chris Boggs is a bundle of knowledge for us. So if anybody has any, they're good programs. We got a lot of programs that people don't know about for land preservation, and they called Young Farmers, Marbedco. Basically, it's a really good deal. So, I mean, I don't want to sit here and explain it all to you, but if you have any questions, Chris Boggs at the county. And congratulate 3 recipients of Miss Washington County was Sabrina Frost. Congratulations to Miss Washington County teen, Jillian Zimmerman, and then our own, I serve with Chris on the Home Builder Association. Her daughter, Latricia Detro, was Western Maryland teen. She was actually the first deaf contestant to win that. So it was. I was not able to attend that, but it was a milestone for us. And congratulations to all the ladies who competed in that. That's it for me.
Okay. Commissioner Keever?
Sure. This Friday, the first Friday in March, is National Employee Appreciation Day. I'd just like to extend my thanks to our county staff. Whether you have a job that puts you in direct contact with citizens or you're behind the scenes, it takes a lot of people to do what we need to do for the citizens of Washington County, and hopefully we might have something planned on Friday for you, but thank you to our staff, though. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Harvey?
Very briefly, like Jeff and Randy, we divided up the work and we went to different Volunteer Fire Association banquet dinners, and I attended the one at Smithsburg at the Smithsburg Rod Gun Club up on the mountain there, and a very nice event. They gave the county a nice plaque, appreciation for what we do for them, but my response to that is our thanks is to all of them for the hard work that they do and the money they raise and all the supporters that help them be successful throughout the year. And they give awards to everyone, Rookie Fireman of the Year and Most Professional, and service awards for how many responses they responded to, and I'm sure it was the same at the other locations, but 351 response calls by the number one guy at Smithsburg.
Yeah, I think our guy had almost 500,
Yeah.
400 and some, yeah.
It's amazing that, what they do for our community as volunteers. And so our thanks to all of them and to these people that work so hard in contributing to the safety of our communities. Just an update also, Board of Elections voted last Tuesday on the 3 voting sites. And they replaced Hancock with Smithsburg. And then there's the Virginia Avenue as the 2 primary sites, and the alternate site, optional site, is at Boonesboro. Those recommendations went to the State Board of Elections on Thursday late afternoon, and they were approved by the State Board of Elections at that event on Thursday. So Boonesboro, Virginia Avenue, and Smithsburg look to be the early voting sites for May and November. And like Randy, I went to the Home Builders Association, and Chris Detro does a great job there, and congratulations to her daughter. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Klein?
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I, too, attended the Fair Play Volunteer Fire Company Award Ceremony. They did express their thanks for all that the county has done for them over the years, and they were giving out their individual awards as well. And one person I would like to single out is Emily Kopp. She is one of our DES full-time paid career firemen, but she also won Volunteer Firefighter of the Year as a volunteer. An example of a lot of the young people that we have now in our community that may be career but still coming out into the community and volunteering at our fire company. So congratulations to Emily and all those at Fair Play who were recipients of awards. Friday evening, I attended a rec program at Hagerstown Community College. It was the former Superheroes event. They call it Capes and Tiaras now. One of the highlights of the evening was our Sheriff Department with had a canine demonstration that the kids were really enthused and enthralled with. So thank you to all at the rec department and the Sheriff's Department for their participation. And then I believe it was Thursday evening, I attended the opening of Pathfinder's Distillery Store on Main Street in Boonesboro. Boonesboro continues to bring and engage small business in that community, making a stop in Boonesboro an all-day event with the number of little stores and things that they have there now. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Klein. Good morning, everyone. I have a number of things here this morning. First, I have a note card addressed to the Board of County Commissioners. March is Read Across America Month. We don't really silly rhymes or do colorful creatures to explain how important it is to read to public education. So the invitation is to all 5 of us to participate. It's at one of the local elementary schools to read to the students, and this note card goes on and on. It's quite lengthy. I'll put it up here. It's signed by Neil Becker, and inviting us to, particularly some of the urban schools, to read to the students. Another invitation that I have is for Hagerstown Startup Week in May. There's a business luncheon on May the 20th, and there's activities in a business resource fair and social event later in the day. And then there's a competition on, I think the date's wrong, but it says Wednesday. So that week in May the 20th and 21st, the city of Hagerstown has invited us, and I have all the invitations and paperwork and all their planned activities for, apparently it's quite a involved 2-day event. I attended the University of Maryland Hagerstown Campus Advisory Board. Michelle Gordon and I both sit on that board. It is quarterly, and we got an update on activities. student population and a lot of good information and resources at that meeting. Last week was the monthly meeting of the local Salvation Army, and once again, just like to reiterate what the Salvation Army locally, the Hagerstown chapter, their involvement in the community, their women and children shelter, the daily feeding program at that facility. Like many other nonprofits, they thrive on volunteerism and support from the community to give back to the community, and donations are down. Volunteerism is very limited and very much needed, and on top of all that, the local advisory board of the Salvation Army is struggling, if you will, and we're looking for interested citizens that have the time, the interest, and the wherewithal to participate as advisory board members. The local Salvation Army would love to talk to you. On Sunday, I had a unique opportunity. Pastor Shane Wilt was being honored for his 25 years as pastor of the West End Baptist Church. I've known Shane probably since day one of those 25 years. He started out with a small church up in the West End with probably 30 parishioners, and on Sunday, his 25 years service milestone, I would dare say there was at least 350 in the room. So congratulations to Shane. They gave statistics at that service of the life expectancy, if you will, of pastors with their awesome responsibility and what they do for their parishioners, and a life of service, and 25 years exceeds the average by a long shot. So congratulations to Pastor Shane Wilt. He's a great guy. I also attended the Bull and Oyster Roast. Again, one of the finer things in our community when all of the Rotary clubs, Hagerstown, Williamsport, Sunrise, probably missing one, Hancock, they all came together and had the annual event together, and 1,200 tickets were sold. There was even signs on the door that don't come in because it's sold out, and there was no tickets available if you showed up without a ticket. So it was a great event, and hats off to what they do for our community, the resources that they pour back into helping this community. Upcoming events, it's probably already been mentioned, but we have our joint meeting with the town of Funkstown at 6 p.m. this evening. Wednesday, February 28th is the 25th Annual Chamber of Business Awards. That's always a sold-out event. This Friday, March 1st, 10 a.m. is the grand opening of Bells and Bows Hair Salon in Williamsport. Saturday, March 2nd is the grand reopening of Dunkin' Donuts on Mulgans Avenue. It's been completely redone, and it is gorgeous. Saturday, March 2nd, also 9 to 5, and Sunday, March the 3rd, 10 to 4 is the Washington County Home Builders. Thank you, Commissioner Wagner, for bringing that up. And Saturday, March the 2nd is the 70th anniversary banquet for the Downsville Ruritan Club. And so they've also hit a milestone. And again, these local service clubs, immeasurable what they do, the volunteerism, and what they give back to our local community. So thank you very much. Did I miss anything? Anybody? With that, we'll move into staff comments. And I think first on staff comments is Andrew.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works. I'm here before you seeking authorization to send in a letter of support to the Maryland Department of transportation regarding preservation of the commuter bus service that comes to Hagerstown. That would be bus 505. It leaves down by the MVA on Colonel Douglas and goes to Shady Grove Metro Station. So if a little bit of history, for those who are aware, in the fall, the state came out with their consolidated transportation plan and about a $2 billion shortfall. Their initial proposal was to eliminate this commuter bus service across the entire state. Then they came back later in January with a proposal to add one-time funds to the transportation plan for operating expenses. So that shores things up for a little bit this year, but they're still looking about reducing the service to a third of what it was, which includes reduced service to Hagerstown, as well as potential future reduced service or elimination in the future. So essentially, this is our opportunity to the community to speak up on behalf of keeping that service. Again, it's something that the MTA provides, and then the riders pay a fare. Are there any questions?
We need a motion,
We just need a consensus, I think.
consensus?
Yeah, I'm okay.
I support a letter.
What is the ridership?
Percentage-wise or in
No,
real
just-
numbers?
Real numbers,
Real numbers on our route is about, I would say, based on what they put in, 80 to 100 at most. So they're looking at a total of, used to be up to 18 trips a day, down to 8. They've been, my understanding is reduced the frequency since COVID, but this would go through a public hearing process to make it official. But across the state, it's, I would say ridership they've published is about 40% of what it was pre-pandemic. So there's a significant reduction
so.
across the entire.
And 80 to 100 for how many, is it one bus ride a day, 4 bus rides?
It would go down to 8. I think currently they're running between 7 and 8 as well.
7 and 8.
Depending on the day
Okay,
and the demand.
and it serves between 80 and 100 total per day.
For, yes, our
Hagerstown.
route. I think the risk that we have in our community is we are the farthest outlying community that has this service. And so a number of other communities, they can do reduction or elimination. And instead of riding this bus, there's another one that has a similar route or something nearby where, in our case, if it's eliminated, you know, potentially the closest connector route would be going to Frederick before you would get service.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep, I think we have consensus.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Rick coming?
Yes, Andrew and Rick. I'm sorry.
I don't want to hop down and get back up.
Sorry, Andrew.
We're here before you to talk about the electricity contract with the Board of Education. We're about ready to go into negotiations with that contract. The importance here is that once that contract is on the table, we have to be able to sign on the spot. If not, prices could move either way within a given moment. So we're asking for authorization to sign the contracts when they come available through the Board of Education's contract.
This is for the electricity bids, is that correct?
Yes.
And is this for all the school buildings?
This is for all the school buildings, counties, buildings and whatnot.
Fire stations.
Fire stations,
You just want to be able to move forward before it raises or whatever happens, yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Is that a motion or is
that-
that a consensus?
I think that needs a motion.
Motion to approve that.
One total bid for, you said?
It's Washington County, Garrett County, Board of Education.
So
Board of
we all
Election.
bundled together to get bulk pricing, but because it's a commodity, essentially you have to sign it within that
It's a
24-hour
co-op.
period.
It's like a
Can
cooperative.
I go ahead and make a second so we're following our process? Second.
Thank you. Okay.
The motion. Okay, now discussion.
Yeah, now
Thank you.
questions, discussion?
It's an electricity cooperative, so this would give them permission to move on quickly so that we can take advantage of any rates that we're getting, very quickly so that they don't go up.
Well, it's important this year because of the election year. That's what the importance of it is also.
How does that play into it?
Pricing fluctuating. And it doesn't matter who's in the office, it always seems to fluctuate drastically. So we're trying to be ahead of the game as far as in the election.
There's a consultant that we're working with on the bid, and they track this to a T, so they know here's the most optimal time to try to lock in your pricing. And so we were currently operating in the last year of a very favorable contract. And so we're trying to take the best recommendations that are given to us for the next contract.
And ultimately, any contract that is agreed upon by staff would be ratified by the board in an open session.
Okay. Is this an annual contract or multi-year?
It's a multi-year contract.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would almost guarantee, I can't tell you what that would be, but currently we're paying 4.9 cents for the actual electricity, and then you still pay distribution charges.
And are we only approving for our own use of the electricity, or like, does the Board of Ed have a vote at the table? Or
Yes, everyone has a vote.
They approve for their,
But it's all in one. Everyone has to be together.
okay. I support it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Ready to vote? Any other comments or questions? All in favor by saying aye?
All right.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Dave Hayes, EMS Transitions. Good morning, Dave.
Morning. David Hayes, Director of Emergency Service. I just wanted to provide a real quick update to the board on the EMS transition process, and then to take a couple minutes just to acknowledge the folks that have gotten us to this milestone. This is an issue that's been before the board for a number of years, and I'm happy to report that this Saturday, March 2nd, we will actually effect the physical transfer of the corporation employees for Smithsburg EMS and Williamsport Fire EMS. And we have two of the prospective employees, at least last I looked. We have Captain Paul Verdon, who's already made the transition about 2 weeks ago. And then Tammy Miller is here. She will be moving to the Office of Budget and Finance as part of the authorized transition. And then we have Keith Abbott and Ms. Joni Gerber. Joni's the current president. Keith is a retired board member, but these folks were instrumental. And then on behalf of Williamsport, I want to thank past President Tim Amons, Chief Donnie Bingaman, current President Ed Amons, their membership and board of directors of both companies. But most importantly, I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for your endurance, perseverance, and dedication to see this through. And I know we're looking forward to maybe next year's budget having additional opportunities to consider other transitions. But from a county's perspective, I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the departments that played a significant role in getting us to this Saturday. And from Human Resources, their entire staff, most specifically HR recruiter, Tony Parks and Deputy Director Dominic Toronto have been instrumental in helping us effect this transition. The Budget and Finance staff, certainly the entire department, but most specifically Darrell Brown, Stephanie Baker, have been instrumental in making sure that these employees are entered into the payroll systems. County Legal, Zach, and of course past County Attorney Kirk Downey and your team, and then the Public Relations Department. And then I want to make sure we acknowledge the Volunteer Coordinator, Ole Griffith, and then the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, who has stood behind us, and I'm not sure anybody made it for that, but I want to make sure that President Jim Sprecher and past President Dale Fishak are recognized for their work in supporting this. This has been unanimously supported by the leadership of the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association for several years. So that's what we got. We're happy. And then the last, I want to make sure I thank my own staff, the Division of Emergency Services leadership team, and most specifically Sonia Hoover, who has just about killed herself trying to make sure that all of the processes move forward as expeditiously as they could, and making sure uniforms and those things are in the hands. To the point she's even gone and picked up their paychecks so they don't have to wait on those. So thanks, Sonia, for everything that you do. But again, County Administrator, County Commissioners, we appreciate the faith and the dedication.
Yeah, Dave, thank you for getting that thing rolling and getting it moving, and I'm sure you learned something on this transition. Will it be even smoother next time, correct?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of things in play that, the commissioners had wanted to see, and then just generically from a county perspective, departments, I think all of those processes are in where now it should be a process very similar to a normal hiring process for county employees. Does anybody want to say anything from the Smithsburg community? You don't have to, it's okay. All right,
Come on, James.
we're fine. So I appreciate you allowing us on the agenda here.
Thanks,
Thank you
Dave.
very
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, next up is Don Marcus.
Good morning, Commissioners. On behalf of the Hagerstown, Washington County Convention and Visitors Bureau, I am requesting a motion to approve the appointment of Jonathan Horowitz to serve a 5-year term from 2024 through 2029. The exact dates will depend on the departure date for Leslie Hart.
Motion to approve Jonathan Horowitz.
Second.
Motion second. Ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's it. Okay, Michelle Gordon, Administrator.
Thank you. I attended the Mako legislative meetings to help keep us up to date on pending legislative items. As Commissioner Barr mentioned, I did attend the University System of Maryland Hagerstown's board meeting. And just kind of echo some of the comments made by Commissioner Harvey. The county did recently finish up court-ordered mediation with the State Board of Elections. The early voting election sites determined in that mediation were the local Board of Elections on Virginia Avenue, the Legion in Boonesboro, and instead of Hancock, all parties agreed that Smithsburg would be the third location. Each of these locations ensures that this service is provided to as many citizens as possible throughout Washington County and provides this service to our rural population centers. At this time, I would like to recommend that we allocate $15,000 to Adam Gravel's law office for the work related to this lawsuit. Funds are available in the county attorney's office budget for this expense, and I would need a motion to approve this.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
I have a question, if I can. I won't support this. I do appreciate Adam's work. I think he's an excellent attorney, and I think we are content with the outcome. No qualms about that. But is it still true that none of the other plaintiffs have contributed any funding? Do we know? Just my concern is when this was brought to us, the group was seeking additional plaintiffs at no cost, and they were rather prominent on some social media posts that no cost would be involved. When it was presented to us, there was no mention of cost as well, and I think if we weren't the original plaintiffs and the original plaintiffs aren't contributing to the legal costs, I don't know why county government has to. Just
Wayne, there was no petition to the county to be part of the original plaintiffs. So I'm just stating that. And
I think you as a plaintiff brought it to us, so, I mean, in that regard, yes, but.
And then the point that our attorney made is that this was, most of the work that was done by the county was actually previously done by the attorney for the plaintiffs. And so it took a heavy load off of our attorneys in that process. But anyway.
I just think if the lead plaintiff isn't contributing, I don't think county government should. That's just my opinion, and I'm just one vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
You already had
There's
the
a vote, Commissioner.
Okay,
And you
Three.
abstained.
right. It's 3-2, 3-1 and 1. Okay, very good.
We received a request from Easter Seals for a letter of support. They have applied for fiscal year 25 congressionally directed spending grant funds to help create a new inclusive child development center in Hagerstown and to provide affordable child care. This project will create 40 to 50 new full-time jobs. It'll generate $2.5 million in annual salaries and benefits for residents and bring $3 million in annual state funding to Hagerstown through Blueprint for Maryland's Future if the awarded funding is approved. They're not asking for any funding from the county. They're asking for support in order to obtain funding from the state. We did sign a similar letter last year, although no funding was approved. I would just need a consensus from the board to sign this letter.
Consensus?
Okay with this.
I agree.
signature.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, 5-0, consensus.
Okay. The next meeting is March the 5th, and I just have one quick correction to the verbiage on the line item for at 1040, fiscal year 25 general fund budget. It's the requested version, not revised. It's just a quick correction there. And that's everything that I have.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move into citizens' participation. We have anyone here this morning who would like to come forward under citizens' participation? Yes, Dave?
Morning, Commissioners. Dave Williams, 11 West Water Street in Smithsburg. If you haven't already seen it, I urge you to watch the video of the February 15 meeting of our Washington County delegation to Annapolis. Mr. Hiram Birch of the Department of Legislative Services presented an overview of state aid to Washington County for fiscal 2025. He covered public safety grants, local health grants, transportation aid, education aid, and more. This morning, I'd like to focus on what was said about disparity grants. The department also prepared a written summary of his remarks, which I'm going to be reading from. Okay, quote, "The disparity grant program provides state funding to 9 jurisdictions statewide where per capita revenue collections from the local income tax is below 75% of the statewide average," unquote. As you know, Washington County is one of those 9 jurisdictions eligible for this extra state funding. Okay, continuing from the document. Changes in local income tax rates can impact the level of state funding provided under the disparity grant program, as the minimum funding amount is based on local tax effort. Washington County reduced its local income tax rate in tax year 2022 from 3.2% to 3%, which reduced the minimal funding amount. Instead of receiving $7.2 million in disparity grant funding, the county only received $3.8 million. Washington County reduced its local income tax rate again in tax year 2023 from 3% to 2.95%, which further reduced the minimal funding amount. If Washington County would have imposed a 3.2% local income tax rate, as most other disparity grant counties, the county would have received $11.2 million in funding under the program in fiscal 2024 and $8.9 million in fiscal 2025. Instead, the county received $3 million in funding in fiscal 24 and $2.4 million in fiscal 25. Over the 3-year period, fiscal 23 to 25, Washington County has lost approximately $18.1 million in state funding under the program by lowering the county's income tax rate below 3.2%. That's end quote. So the local income tax rate set by the Board of County Commissioners resulted in a loss of $18.1 million in state funding. And that doesn't include whatever revenue would have been generated by a constant 3.2% income tax. With the many needs of our county, I urge you to not continue turning away disparity grant funds. Please set the income tax rate so we can take full advantage of this grant. Surely we can find ways to cushion the impact an income tax hike may have on low-income and fixed-income taxpayers. Imagine what could have been done with that $18.1 million.
Thank you. Anyone else under citizens' participation this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mary Herringa, and I'm the UNISERV Director for the Washington County Teachers Association. Our address is 18047 Oak Ridge Drive in Hagerstown. WCTA believes that our schools must serve all children, whatever their race, gender, zip code, birthplace, religion, or family wealth. We believe in the freedom of our children to learn, and that if Washington County comes together, we can overcome our challenges, ensuring all children across the county receive the same high-quality education. We know the resources that can do this exist in our county, and we call on our elected officials at all levels to prioritize and serve our children ahead of the desire to convince people that our resources are scarce. Some elected officials have said that if we provide more staff in schools that serve poor communities, or schools with more students with special needs, often our city schools, we are then forced to move staff and raise class sizes in our rural schools. Some people even say it's because of how many children need English language learning services. While the number of students needing ELL services is growing, less than 5% of our students receive ELL services, and our percentage of children receiving special education is just under the state average. These false choices are unfortunate because it can fuel grievances some people have against these communities, and the division is unnecessary and harmful. If the county commissioners fully funded WCPS at the same percentage of county funds this year, which is 39% of the general fund, as they did in 2021 when it was 44% of the general fund, the district would have another $19 million, more than enough money to hire staff throughout our schools. During this time, the county's general fund also grew by 18%. Some people say that we're getting less state money because the state doesn't care about our western counties. The state of Maryland has stepped up to fill the funding gaps that our local elected officials have created by choosing to disinvest in WCPS. Last year, the Board of County Commissioners spent $18 million more than the year before, but none of that new spending went to WCPS. As our county gets wealthier and our elected officials divert the county wealth out of the general fund, our schools suffer, and the children that suffer the most are the most vulnerable, least well-represented, least well-resourced, and whose families are the least able to provide what their children need. 60% of our students qualify for free and reduced meals, and according to a February 15th presentation from the Department of Legislative Services, your decision to keep cutting local income tax rates cost us about $18 million through fiscal year 25. We believe that our elected officials made decisions that put us in this position and can make different decisions to brighten our schools' future. Washington County can work together across the lines that divide us and use our resources in ways that benefit all of our community. Our students deserve it. You have the resources if you choose to use them. You can ensure that our schools have the staffing and resources our students need. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Citizens' participation? Hearing none, we'll move forward then with our public hearing for 2021 code adoption.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Greg. Let me, if you will, let me go ahead and read the opening
sir.
statement here. 2021 code adoption, public hearing opening statement. Next on the agenda is the public hearing concerning the proposed adoption of the 2021 Maryland Building Performance Standards, the 2021 existing building code, various trade codes, and local amendments. The purpose of this hearing is to hear public testimony concerning the matter. The procedure is as follows. We will first have staff introduce the matter, after which the hearing will be open for public comment and testimony. Public comment and testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The hearing will then close and no other comments, correspondence, or emails will be considered. The commissioners may discuss the issue and take it under advisement, or they may reach a consensus to adopt the codes presented. So with that, Greg Cartrett, would you please introduce the matter?
Yes, sir. Greg Cartrett, Director, Permits and Inspections and Code Official.
Morning, Commissioners. Frank Quillen, Deputy Code Official.
Terry Pfizer, Chief Building Inspector.
We are here today to hold a public hearing for the proposed adoption of the 2021 Maryland Performance Standards and the 2021 existing building code, trade codes, local amendments thereto, and related ordinances and resolutions. In brief, the 2021 code adoption is required by the state of Maryland, which includes the state building performance standards and Washington County local amendments. Local amendments allow for some modification to the new codes with consistency and coordination with the customers. Also, with prior cycles, the 2021 building code review was performed by a committee approved by the board July 12th of 2022, consisting of various government, design, and construction representatives.
Okay. Any other comments by staff? We will now open the hearing for public comment. Anyone wishing to testify here this morning, please stand. Okay. Hearing no comments. The commissioners have any questions or concerns?
So Greg, can I ask a question here? Okay. So this change or modification requires engineered or architectural stamped
No.
plans for 2,000 feet or above?
No, sir. No, sir.
Absolutely not.
This has nothing to do with.
Absolutely not, okay.
No, this
This is something else.
This is something else. This
Okay.
is the adoption. Back in May of 2023, the state of Maryland
Okay, we're just,
adopted
got that, okay.
the 2021 building codes, and by mandate, we have 12 months from that date to adopt.
So I was conflating two
Yes,
things.
yes, sir.
Okay, I got it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
I don't have anything.
Anyone else? Hearing no other comments or questions, the public hearing is now concluded, and the commissioners, your thoughts, whether we,
I think you just move forward. There's nobody here to protest or to put input, and we don't have a whole lot of input. We've been looking at it. I'd move forward, be my opinion.
is that a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve the.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, 5-0. So this will, no other action to be taken here. Michelle,
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
When does this go into effect?
Well, that's a very good question, sir. What we're going to do is move forward, and we're going to have a period. I'm meeting with Dave Hayes this afternoon at the Public Training Safety Facility. We're going to look at April, May, June. We're going to have several community meetings there to update the home builders, to update any contractors, the public on the change, and we're looking at this being effective July 1.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Okay.
thanks,
Thank
gentlemen.
you, sirs.
Thank you, Greg.
Next item, FY '24 budget adjustments to the Washington County Board of Education General Fund budget.
Morning, Commissioners. Jeff Brew, Chief Operating Officer for Washington County Public Schools.
And Eric Sisler, Executive Director of Finance for Washington County Public Schools.
So Commissioners, the matter before you this morning is budget adjustments to the fiscal year 2024 budget for Washington County Public Schools. The annotated code requires that local school systems periodically reforecast revenues and expenses, make any necessary changes to their budgets. Any of those changes that are cross-category changes require approval of the Board of Education and then subsequently the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of Education's Finance Committee reviewed these items at their early February meeting, and the full board provide their approval of these budget adjustments at their February 20 meeting. I'd like to highlight a few things in the exhibit for you. In essence, the Board of Education is requesting to move cross-category approximately $3.5 million. The top half of the form represents places where we either have additional revenues or we have cost savings. The item of probably largest note is that with interest rates what they are and taking a fairly aggressive approach in our investments, we're receiving and expecting an additional $1.5 million in interest revenue over the course of the current fiscal year. The vast majority of other savings in this document reflect places where we have savings in staff salaries due to vacancies that we have, which also then reflect in the fixed charges category where we have savings in health insurance and benefits. The bottom half of the document reflects locations where we're seeing additional costs, the largest of which is approximately $1.5 million in special education, mostly for contracted staff to fill the vacancies we're unable to hire on our own, or to utilize additional speech language therapists or school psychologists to reduce caseloads on the staff that we currently have. These changes are net out even, and there's no effect on the Board of Education's fund balance. We're happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions, concerns?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
Next item is Washington County Commission on Aging FY 2025 budget presentation.
Hello, ladies
morning.
and gentlemen. How are you?
Morning.
Morning.
Good. Good morning.
Morning. On behalf of the Commission on Aging, Board of Directors and staff, we are very gracious that you allowed us here today to do our presentation for the Washington County Commission on Aging. We have a distribution of handouts to give to each commissioner and also our county administrator. And so we'd like to be able to do that. Each envelope contains a letter from Peter McDonald, a partner at SEK, which has been a longstanding supporter and collaborator of the Commission on Aging for over a decade. Additionally, upon Commissioner Harvey's request, an invitation to our Legacy Gala on April 20th at St. James School was in your packet. This event is crucial for our nonprofit's fundraising efforts, and we hope you'll consider attending, perhaps even sponsoring. Lou Scally will serve as our MC, and elder law attorney Michael Day will be our special guest speaker, with entertainment by the talented students from St. James. At this time, for the matter of record, I'd like to introduce Peter McDonald to actually read the letter from SCK at this particular time.
All right, good morning. Peter McDonald, I'm a partner at Smith Elliott Kearns and Company. We're located at 19405 Emerald Square in Hagerstown, Maryland. So just for the record, the Board of the Washington County Commission on Aging has requested I just read this letter for the public record. It's a letter that's dated February 10th, and it says, "Dear Commissioners, at the request of the Board of Directors of the Washington County Commission on Aging, we are writing this letter to provide some additional insight regarding the financial reporting requirements the Washington County Commission on Aging is subject to in order to obtain federal and state funding for its programs. Organization programs funded by federal or state dollars are on a reimbursement model. The organization must first spend dollars and request reimbursement for the program spend. This requires the organization to have net assets, or working capital, available to fund programs until reimbursements are received. Local funding is important to the organization to maintain the net assets needed to fund programs while waiting on reimbursements. Several federal programs require local funds to be used to match program spending in order to obtain full reimbursement of the grant award. For example, if the organization is awarded $100,000 in federal funds for a particular program, they may need to match 10% with local funds and therefore spend $110,000 within the program in order to be reimbursed for the full award of $100,000. As part of these programs, the organization is subject to oversight from federal and state officials. The organization undergoes financial and program audits on a recurring basis, with most programs audited at least once every 2 years by government officials. The organization also undergoes an annual independent financial statement audit. Under the organization's current leadership, the organization has received no findings from federal or state officials requiring repayment of grant awards, has received a clean audit opinion from their independent auditors, and has received no communications from their independent auditors regarding material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control over financial reporting. The results of these audits signal the organization's dedication to ensure controls are in place so grant awards from various funding sources are used appropriately and according to program requirements. We trust you will find this letter a beneficial addition to the funding request from the organization, signed by myself, Peter McDonald, member of the firm. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Before we go to the video, I was remiss in actually doing some introductions here, so I make apologies to that. I'd like to introduce our CEO of the Washington County Commission on Aging, Amy Olak, and our treasurer and chair of our finance committee, Mr. William Beard. And I am Ed Lowe, the current board president of the Commission on Aging. So we have a video we'd like to show. We sent it here, and we hope that you're ready to produce that. Thank you.
The Commission on Aging is Washington County's area agency on aging. The Area Agency on Aging is mandated by the federal government through the Older Americans Act of 1965. The Commission on Aging is designated by the state of Maryland through the Maryland Department of Aging. The Commission on Aging is the only Aging and Disabilities Resource Center for Washington County. The state of Maryland audits the state and federal programs based on regulatory compliance and financial excellence. The Commission on Aging is a nonprofit 501c3 award-winning organization receiving the Gold Seal of Financial Transparency. The Commission on Aging served over 11,000 unique individuals, encompassing seniors, caregivers, and individuals with disabilities of all ages, including over 96,000 phone calls, equating to over 49 calls for service for every hour open. Let's talk about some of our services. Home and community-based services, mandated by the Older Americans Act, are much more than just chores and errands. They're a lifeline for many seniors, allowing them to remain independent and safe in their own homes, where they feel most comfortable and connected. These services encompass a wide range of support, from assistance with everyday tasks like bathing, cooking, and cleaning, to more specialized needs like case management, transportation, and even legal assistance. Let's take a look at the impact of these services in FY 2023. 2,522 individuals served. This represents a significant number of seniors who benefited from the program's diverse offerings. Please give your attention to the impressive numbers listed here. But the impact goes beyond simple numbers. Each service delivery represents an act of support, a helping hand that allows seniors to maintain their independence and dignity. In total, a remarkable 10,169 acts of service were provided to clients in FY 2023 through community-based services. Listen to this client testimonial. "I suffer from pain and have a hard time getting out of my chair to clean," shared Mr. Hlucci. "I was at risk for being kicked out of my apartment. Thanks to this program, I am safe to stay in my home." Mr. Hlucci's story exemplifies the true value of home and community-based services. These programs don't just provide practical assistance, they offer peace of mind, a sense of security, and the freedom to age gracefully in familiar surroundings. By promoting independent living, these services not only improve the lives of seniors, but also contribute to significant cost savings by avoiding costly institutionalized long-term care. In FY 23, MAP served as the primary intake gateway for 16 distinct programs, collectively aiding 8,807 individuals. Take a look at these amazing numbers of unique individuals served. We are proud to serve our seniors, caregivers, and individuals with disabilities in such a comprehensive way. The impact of these programs is profound, particularly highlighted by the discovery of over $1.3 million in benefits for seniors through the benefits checkup in FY 23. The Medicare Part D open enrollment period, spanning from October 15th to December 7th, 2023, was a busy time for the Commission on Aging. Our dedicated staff and volunteers assisted 690 unique individuals during this period. Through their efforts in enrollment guidance and plan comparisons, we estimated a significant savings of over $520,000 for our clients. We are awaiting confirmation from the federal government to finalize and publish the exact amount of these savings. In addition to the open enrollment period, throughout the year, our Medicare Part D programs were able to serve a total of 1,163 seniors, underscoring our ongoing commitment to the well-being of our elderly community. Our nutrition services are so much more than just a program. They represent care, nourishment, and community connection. Central to this service are our home-delivered meals, known as Meals on Wheels, and the heartwarming gatherings at our 7 congregate sites across the county. Through these vital nutrition programs, we've had the joy and privilege of feeding 733 seniors, providing a staggering 56,781 meals in total. Of these, 43,770 prepared meals reached 418 unique, homebound individuals, bringing not just nutrition but also a sense of belonging, safety, and care right to their doorsteps. Additionally, 13,011 congregate meals created moments of joy and community for 315 unique individuals who joined us at one of our 7 vibrant congregate sites. Each meal served is a testament to our commitment and a celebration of the spirit of our senior community. Health promotion and disease prevention hold a place of utmost importance among the programs mandated by the Older Americans Act. Our commitment to these programs is reflected in the remarkable numbers we've achieved. In FY23, we reached 1,399 unique individuals with vital education sessions. On average, participants engaged in 1 to 2 educational activities per month, culminating in a total of 28,266 educational experiences provided throughout the year. The Commission on Aging is dedicated and striving to foster a healthier Washington County. We take pride in our range of programs like Living Well with Chronic Disease, Stepping On, Diabetes Prevention, Walk with Ease, and Walking into Wellness. These, along with various other nutrition and health-related topics, have been instrumental in enriching the lives of our seniors. Every session is a step towards a healthier, more informed, and empowered senior community. Our caregiver programs offer various supportive services, including support groups, an online resource hub, counseling, case management, and respite care. Respite care, in particular, offers short-term relief for caregivers, ensuring continuous care for their loved ones. We focus on 2 main areas: supporting caregivers of older adults and providing relief for older relatives, like grandparents caring for grandchildren. In this endeavor, we assisted 52 caregivers, delivering a total of 583 acts of service. Amy Olak serves as the court-appointed guardian of person for 14 wards, a role that demands 24/7 attention to ensure their health and well-being. As a guardian of person, she is empowered to make critical decisions about their health care, shelter, and daily needs. The program manager's responsibility often involves out-of-county travel to accommodate the complex needs of the wards, especially when they are placed in various facilities. Ombudsman services in Washington County extend to 10 nursing homes and 19 assisted living facilities, serving over 1,800 residents. The year saw our ombudsman conduct 288 in-person visits, open 116 cases, handle 257 complaints, and provide 137 educational sessions to staff, families, and residents. They play a crucial role in state exit surveys, acting as a liaison, advocating for resident rights, reviewing investigations, and reporting to the state ombudsman. The elder abuse prevention programs aided 366 unique individuals, offering crucial support to victims in Washington County through legal system navigation, advocacy, and education. The Washington County Senior Activities Center, the county's sole senior center, saw 2,282 seniors engage in 161,243 activities last year alone, averaging 87 activities per person. In May 2023, we proudly opened our first senior gym, Senior Fit, with state and county support. What have we learned through these numbers? For starters, the train of senior services is full. That means there are hundreds upon hundreds of seniors in Washington County who are left waiting for additional funding to be made available so they too, like thousands of their fellow residents, can be served. We need your help. Over 780 Washington County residents are currently awaiting access to various programs and services, with wait times exceeding 4 months for most programs. This includes 166 homebound seniors needing food, 551 awaiting MAP appointments, and others waiting for senior care and home/community-based services. We're requesting an additional $725,790 to expand our services. This funding is vital for maintaining current Meals on Wheels clients, sustaining 5 part-time drivers, hiring new Maryland Access employees to reduce the 4 to 6 month appointment wait time, providing a 3% staff salary increase, replacing lobby furnishings, installing 5 parking lot cameras, and offsetting general business cost increases. However, our FY25 request leaves some needs unfunded, including additional support for those on wait lists for food or services, addressing wage compression due to minimum wage laws, and funding mandates from FY 2025 state legislation for long-term care and dementia navigation, the Maryland's Longevity Initiative, and the growing senior population. Without your backing, our seniors will continue to wait for vital services, wonder about their importance to us, and worry over basic needs like food and health care. Your decision on this budget is crucial for supporting seniors, caregivers, and those with disabilities. Please, let's ensure no senior, caregiver, or disabled person is left behind.
Thank you for your attention to the video. Appreciate it very much. There's a lot of information there. We're pretty busy, as you can see, at the Commission on Aging with our seniors, those homebound and those who are disabled as well. At this time, I would like to reintroduce Bill Beard, our treasurer and chair of our Finance Committee, who will be speaking in the place of our Vice President, Tim Delbridge, who was unable to be with us this morning. Bill?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Bill Beard. I'm here in place of Tim Delbridge. We missed Tim. He's one of our CPAs, and I can hardly fill in for him as far as the CPA part of it is concerned. This morning, I'd like to draw your attention to, in your funding, in your packet, you should have a general funding request. I direct your attention to page 10-13. Can you find that, please? 10-13, Washington County, Maryland, General Fund, Commission on Aging. If you look on the left side of that, it shows an in-kind expense of $433,600 for the senior center and the offices of the Commission on Aging. This is not cash. This is in-kind. This is the building you provide to us graciously, and we appreciate that. But this is where we provide the services that are mandated, and if we didn't do them, you would have to do them. So it's not a cash contribution. And if you look to the right, you notice that in 24 it wasn't included. And to the right of that, in 23 it was included. And in 22 it was not included. So all we do is ask you for some consistency and to recognize that this is not cash. This is in kind. It's the building which we appreciate.
I can add a little bit of clarity for you on that. When we were preparing the fiscal year 23 financial statements, we determined at that time that we needed to include that in-kind contribution. So it's included in the fiscal year 23 actuals. A fiscal year 24 budget adjustment will need to be prepared in order to get that budget corrected for fiscal year 25. So what's included on here is the approved budget, which is your original budget. It would not necessarily show that we've made that budget adjustment, but it will be included from fiscal year 23 going forward. It just was not included in the past.
Does that include any maintenance and upkeep or?
It's strictly for the buildings at this point.
No, but is it, do we do anything for the buildings out of our budget? Is what I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes, you do.
Okay, I'm just.
Yes, so the fire suppression system is an example of that.
Okay.
So why was this added? I'm kind of curious about that.
Depreciation?
It's a gap requirement that we include in-kind contributions. We included it for all of the agencies that we provide buildings to and other services to. It wasn't just included for Commission on Aging. I believe the Health Department and several other agencies also had that in-kind contribution added to their line item.
So what is the budget adjustment that you're going to be requesting that we make to make this a little more transparent, a little more
The fiscal year 24
less
budget.
misleading?
It'll likely be the same for fiscal year '24, because you can see for fiscal year '23 and fiscal year '25, we kept it the same. In future years, there will be a slight escalator built into that of maybe 1 to 1.5%, which is what I'm used to seeing. That's the escalator I used in prior positions that I held.
So you're going to be changing the 2024 budget line item?
To 433,600.
And you're going to be changing the 2022 budget?
No,
I realize that's in the past, but
Can't change the '22 budget, that is what
I
it
think
is.
there needs to be a footnote on here. I think any citizen that looks at this might be thinking, wow, they increased funding quite a bit to the Commission on Aging, when in fact that wasn't the case. I think we need to be very transparent about that. If we were
Right.
supposed to and we didn't, that's fine. But going forward, I think we need a big explanation, because that's $500,000.
Right,
We
and
need to explain
Kelsey-
that we're not cutting or we're not giving additional funding.
Right.
That's not new funding. That's not new at all.
In-kind services, and it's offset by an in-kind revenue, so it kind of washes itself out. The total in-kind contribution is around $1.4 million for all of the agencies that we contribute to. We contribute to the libraries, I believe the Health Department, and a few others.
So the 108.91% change,
The actual request that they've, for cash, they're asking for is a 68% change on that
a
first
footnote
line.
I think is needed there too.
That's correct, yes.
Michelle, will we know when the percentage increases go up for that square footage? Because we do the same with in-kind.
We'll do that as part of the budget process. Right now, for fiscal year '25, no increases included.
Okay.
So we'll reevaluate that next year.
Okay, that would be great, because we had an assessment done for the building for our in-kind numbers to make
Right,
sure.
I saw it on your financial statements.
Right, right. So if you're doing the same thing, if we could just use yours.
It should agree, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you, and Commissioner Kiefer, your point's well taken, so that it may appear as spendable dollars, but in fact, it's not cash, and that was the only point that our Vice President, CPA on the Finance Committee was making, which Bill covered for him. That was the point, so thank you for that.
Yeah. On a personal note, I'd like to say that I've been involved with the Commission on Aging for over 25 years. I've been on committees, been on the board, been board president several times. I run one of the 80 programs, the Home Ramp Project for the Commission on Aging, which provides wheelchair ramps for people at their homes so they don't have to leave the homes. And during that time, I never thought of myself as a senior. I did what I was doing because I liked doing it. I liked being part of the community. Until this past year when my wife got sick. I became a caregiver. She passed away in November, but during that period, I had the expenses of caregivers, nursing homes, daycare, and I thought to myself, how do citizens in this community handle that kind of a situation when they don't have the resources that I have? And I thought to myself, this is crazy. During the time that I was going through this, I had access to the Commission on Aging for advice, but others don't. And the idea that someone must wait 4 or 5 months to get help from the Commission on Aging is just unacceptable. Thank you.
Serving as a board member and now president of the Washington County Commission on Aging, I am compelled to express my profound endorsement of our organization. This endorsement extends to the invaluable services we provide to thousands, the commitment encircling hundreds of volunteers, our dedicated staff, and particularly the exceptional leadership of our CEO, Amy Olak, for nearly a decade. Amy stands out as an exemplary figure in her field, combining her role as a licensed and experienced nursing home director and nursing clinician with advanced academic credentials in leadership. Her expertise is frequently sought by peers and state officials in Maryland for her ability to address complex issues and contribute to policy improvements. A recent instance showcased her acute business acumen as she identified a significant legal oversight at the state level that had been overlooked by many professionals. I state with confidence that Amy's unique combination of technical, clinical, and financial expertise, alongside her unwavering work ethic, long hours, and superior management of over 80 programs, is unparalleled in the tri-state area. Thus, I emphasize that recognizing and valuing our CEO as a pivotal figure in the field of aging services is not only appropriate, but necessary. Any perspective that does not fully appreciate her contributions undervalues the importance of our work for our seniors, our county, and this governing body. I'd like to remind the commissioners just one other time that in 2023, we were able to contribute approximately $1.3 million back into the community based on discovering benefits for seniors, particularly, again, the Medicare Part D, which was over $500,000, which consisted of helping people lower their copays, lowering their deductibles, and lowering their premiums, which now allows them, instead of buying medicine, they can buy medicine and food instead of trying to make that simple decision. So once again, I'd like to thank the county commissioners and also the county administrator, for your time here today. We should take pride in the services available to seniors, caregivers, and those with disabilities. Together, we need to actually put together some sort of strategic plan over the next 10 years to address the growing need of services as this baby boomer generation rolls in to requesting services here in Washington County. Seniors should not have to wait for extended periods of time, wonder about available support, and worry how they will maintain independence in their homes and enjoy a dignified quality of life. Appreciate the time today. Before we go, I want to ask if anyone has any comments, any questions, any thoughts, ideas, or help.
I'd just like to provide some additional information to the board so that, they can have all of the information that's available to them. A lot of this information was obtained from the Area Agency on Aging report that the Commission on Aging prepares, as well as all of the other counties prepare. It's something that's prepared, attested to, and submitted to the State Department on Aging. Some of the things that kind of stood out for me were the cost per meal. The cost per meal for Washington County's Commission on Aging is $10.25 per meal. The cost per meal in Frederick County is $6.24 per meal for meals that are home delivered. Meals in congregate in Frederick County are $2.63 versus $10.25 for meals in congregate in Washington County. Meals in Garrett County are $1.60 per meal compared to the $10.25 per meal. It seemed like it was a pretty big disparity between those. Some of the other things that kind of stood out from the Area Agency on Aging report for me included the total budget for Meals on Wheels. Total budget for Meals on Wheels was about $1 million. If I just use the cost per meal times the number of meals that were served, or at the height of the pandemic, it was about $1 million. Now, it's expected that that would decrease after the pandemic's over. So at the height of the pandemic, $1 million was allocated for the Meals on Wheels budget, and 613 unduplicated persons were served Meals on Wheels. That budget decreased despite the fact that our budget allocation to Commission on Aging actually increased. So the budget for fiscal year '24 included an estimate of 214 unduplicated persons to be served meals, and a budget of about $450,000. So it kind of stood out for me that the budget decreased despite the fact that our allocation increased for the Commission on Aging. And then when you look at that report, it also tells you the number of unduplicated people who are served, provide with any service. In Frederick County, the number of unduplicated people who are provided any service is about 3,500 people versus 3,000 in Washington County. So that's, to me, a good number. The population in Frederick County is about 280,000 versus 155,000 in Washington County. However, when you looked at the Area Agency on Aging report, the number of unduplicated clients who are provided meals is about 287 in Washington County versus almost 1,200 in Frederick County. And of those in Washington County, only about 100 of them are actually in poverty. And I understand that this is needs-based, not means-based. So, but I just thought those were interesting numbers, and I wanted to make sure that the commission had that information.
Thank you for providing that, and I'd like to offer a rebuttal to that, to just remind the commissioners that the Area Agency on Aging report is strictly for the titled programs under the Older Americans Act. It does not include all of the state mandated programs through the Maryland Department of Aging. An example of that would be our dementia navigation program that is about to come to fruition in June. And all of the mandates that come into play through legislation. And so I want to also explain to you the difference in the number of people served in the budget where she had mentioned Meals on Wheels. Our congregate site during the pandemic was closed. Those individuals and the budget got moved to the Meals on Wheels program. That's why you're seeing a decrease in the amount of money being shifted from the congregate funds over to the Meals on Wheels program and the number of people served. And that was the direction of the Maryland Department of Aging to do that.
Please address the difference in cost between the $10.25 in Frederick County, please.
So this is the largest contract that we have at our agency, and we are obligated to put that out for bid. We put that out for bid. As you may know, the Board of Education was our provider for many years, for those of you that have been on the board. They had pulled out, and so we put it back out for bid, and we got one bid. That's all we got. And so we are still with that provider at this time. Ed and myself, as well as Bill, over the years, have had multiple conversations with different entities to try to get them to consider taking on this very large program, because it has to deliver food at a temperature regulated to all of the 7 congregate sites, as well as have a site where our volunteers can pick up the meals and deliver those, because we couldn't do this without our volunteers. They are a huge asset to this organization. And so at no point have we ever said we would not consider other options for that. However, there are very strict regulations for nutrition. I will tell you that Frederick, for example, uses their detention center to be able to provide those meals. I would be happy to talk with your detention center here locally if that's an option. I did speak in the past with Sheriff Mullendore. He put me in contact with the contractor at that time, at which time they didn't have capacity to get the food to the 7 congregate sites. It was an issue for them to be able to supply that, as well as the requirements for the meal and nutritional values. So I'm happy to entertain any thoughts that the commissioners might have, and certainly both these gentlemen, Mr. Kiefer and Mr. Harvey, sit on our boards and are aware of those situations. And again, I'm happy. We've talked to the hospital as well. We went back to them this year thanks to Commissioner Harvey. We have another meeting with them, but they are not coming in much lower at this point.
Does Garrett County, do they prepare their own meals? Is that why theirs
Yes.
is $1.60? And you have a commercial kitchen, is that correct?
We don't have a commercial kitchen. We have a preparatory kitchen. It doesn't meet the requirements in the health department for a full kitchen.
I see we have our sheriff around the corner. Maybe we could put a little work group together to see what it would take to allow our detention center to help prepare the meal. Maybe if the kitchen's not large enough, maybe we can do something with timing to prepare 2 meals, or a meal for the detention center, a meal for seniors, just on a different schedule. I don't know what's possible, but I think when we compare Washington County to Frederick County, it's just comparing apples and oranges. I mean, those are paid staff, my understanding, paid staff from Frederick County that deliver the meals. So if you put in county vehicles, county fuel costs, county salaries to deliver those meals, that $6.24 goes up rather quickly when you have to pay people versus having volunteers. And we're largely volunteers that deliver Meals on Wheels, not exclusively. I guess if someone might call out sick, you have a staff member that needs to run that that particular run for that day. But largely, I mean, that's just an apples and oranges comparison in the way I see it, comparing Washington and Frederick County.
It's, I'm sure one of our CPAs could come up with what that number might be. It's got to be close to the $10, I would think.
Yes.
The fact that the correctional system prepares those meals is another big plus for Frederick County.
That
So
sounds like an in-kind contribution that
Yeah,
needs to be included on their budget.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
not.
you're exactly right. It is apples and oranges, basically, when you compare the two. And I understand the comparison. It's a fair comparison, but it's really apples and oranges when you look at what we're doing.
Those detention center employees are usually paid workers
At minimum wage.
at minimum wage, which is $15 an hour.
Amy, so refresh my memory. There were a lot of numbers in that video, and I've heard a lot of numbers at your meetings. How many people are currently getting home-delivered Meals on Wheels?
So currently, we have about 190 people, and that fluctuates based on need.
Right, okay, and then you have what's the 166 number? Is that
The wait list?
That's the wait list. So my question is, what does it take to get us up to 350 to 400 Meals on Wheels paid for, supported, et cetera? What is the dollar amount increase? If you're going to have it in a block, this money is coming over and it's just for that.
Sure.
Is it $300,000? Is it 250? What is that number to get us to fully supporting Meals on Wheels with a little bit of room to grow?
Sure. I think for us, it's really going back to the table to get you that exact number rather than me speculate what that might cost. I can go back and say, when we presented to the county commissioners 2 years ago for the additional funds of $518,000, that was for 80 individuals. So I'm sure that as we look at that and look at staffing as well as the volunteers, our challenge has been drivers, and it pulls away from our staff to be able to serve the needs. So I would come back to the table and provide you that number. I would be happy to do that.
So, because I want to make sure that I understand that piece in relationship to the others, because if, I'm really a supporter of Meals on Wheels. In particular, some of the other things, we've talked about the 80-plus programs. And I know there's interconnections where you have to do this if you're doing that, and it's money. It's very complicated, so it's been a PhD education hearing some of this stuff. But, how much of your budget request does not actually get us to 100% Meals on Wheels coverage then?
It does not, and I want you to remember that our wait list is going to continue to fluctuate. It's going to go up and down based on needs. We've been almost 200 people at one point, and people pass away, people move out of the state, people go into nursing homes or assisted livings, which make them no longer eligible. But we are prioritizing the wait list based on the greatest need, and that was a decision made by the state, Maryland Department of Aging, for a prioritization schedule, so that it wasn't first in, first out. It was really based on those that have the highest need first.
Never been below 120 for years and years and years. 120.
Amy, could you talk a little bit about the criteria for Meals on Wheels? I think, I was surprised when I joined your board to learn more about the programs offered by the Commission on Aging. And Meals on Wheels, the criteria isn't someone reaches a certain age and then they qualify for Meals on Wheels. There's medical disabilities that go into it. There's they live with someone who might be able to go to the grocery store, and impacts their eligibility for food stamps. It's not just when someone reaches a certain age, they're older, they can receive a home-delivered meal. That's not the criteria.
That is correct. So medically homebound is the term that's used to define individuals who do not have supports and services. And as Michelle mentioned, it's not a means tested. So, it makes it very difficult because those that have funds and could pay, we have another program called NEED, Nutrition Education Assistance Delivered, that we offer them in hopes that they would be willing to financially support that, so that those in poverty could be moved up on the list based on their criteria where they're prioritized. So our staff actually go out, make those assessments to make sure that people meet the needs. They're not driving to the grocery store. They're not participating at our senior center. These are individuals who have medical needs that are homebound. And as their needs change, so let's say someone came in because they had a very significant fall and they are in the hospital and they come home, they may have a short need for home-delivered meals, and then the reassessment is completed, they come off, and someone else goes on.
Thank you.
I just have one question. I'm not sure who brought it up, but someone mentioned the 500, I think you mentioned the 518,000. On 1017, which is the packet that you prepared, you have indicated that you're using restricted funds of 149,000 to be carried forward into fiscal year '25 from that 518,000. So it doesn't look like that whole amount was spent.
Correct.
In fiscal year '23.
That is correct. We put that on our statement for
So you used it
your
over
budget.
3 fiscal years, does that sound right?
That is correct, yes. So to be transparent, we wanted to make sure that everyone knew where we were in that budget, to show you on our budget where we are carrying that funds over. And that's projected, Michelle. That's obviously not actuals.
Correct.
But it could be much less by the time we finish this fiscal year.
Okay.
And pick up those individuals. As I mentioned before, our big significant piece right now is the help for delivery. The call out for volunteers to help get these meals. Because obviously, as Wayne had pointed out, if we continue to pay additional drivers, it drives up the cost of providing the service. And so we really rely on our very robust, wonderful volunteers who they help do more than just deliver food. It's, socialization and a safety check and all of those pieces. Sometimes the only person that they see in the day. And I know sometimes it's hard for us to sit here and imagine what that's like to be at home all weekend and not hear from anybody, not get a call, not see anyone, don't have access to the internet. That one person bringing in a hot meal makes a huge difference in people's lives. And we learned about socialization and the importance of social isolation during the pandemic. It came to life and we could see that and we could feel that, and we all of a sudden saw when the senior center reopened, the robust increase in influx of members. I just want to remind you that we require all of our senior center members, and I know they get upset with me every year, to re-register because people change and we want to make sure that it's accurate and transparent, that we're serving these individuals, they're still coming, because they want to participate. It's the same thing at our congregate site. These individuals are in need of support and socialization and fitness and exercise and education, and they come together and it's like a family, sitting around those tables.
Remind us where the congregate sites are so the public that's listening are going to watch it on Antietam Cable tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. It's a plug.
Yes.
Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock.
That was a plug.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Harvey.
On that program, aren't you?
So we have a site in Hancock, in Williamsport, in Smithsburg, in Boonesboro, and the remainders are here in the city of Hagerstown, Walnut Towers, Potomac Towers, and Francis Murphy.
Okay.
And the last comment I have really is just a plug for the Board of County Commissioners, just to recognize the amount of support that they do pour into our seniors. The total cost of the senior center and the activity building was about $6.3 million. There was about $700,000 in federal and state grants, so the majority of that funding, $5.6 million, did come from the county, and I just want to make sure that we recognize the good work that they're.
And thank those
Absolutely.
prior boards for approving that. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I agree, and I want to say many of you have been out volunteering and helping us, and the county commissioners over the years have been great supporting our organization. And, we've come to a time where, there are 11,000 approximately across the nation today, people turning 65, celebrating their birthday, and that's really exciting, but 11,000, just think about that.
It's every day, isn't it?
Every day.
This
So
year.
about 4.1 million people in 2024 will be turning 65 across this nation. And I'm just asking for you to consider a plan moving forward, not just this year, but what do we look at for supporting seniors, because God willing, we'll all be 65 and older, and really putting things in place.
Over 65.
Well, don't admit those. It's just a number. It's just a number. But, it's about how do we come together when it's all of those pieces and serve for the greater good of this community, regardless of age or disability or the caregiving. And I know some of you've been in those caregiving roles yourself and know how difficult that is.
I have just one question. I don't want to hold this up any longer, but,
Sure.
I ask this question to everybody. If Sheriff's up next, okay, what have you done to make your budget good? and we cut our budget at the county, and your road doesn't get done or your bridge doesn't get repaired, everybody has to give and take. You've asked for, be funded an extra, what, $750,000 or so. What, with all your programs and everything going on down there, what have you done to try to generate more income to go to the really needy people and not, I'm not cutting this down by any means. I haven't seen all your programs, but I know there's quite a few, 80 or 70 or whatever. Yeah. Have you been able to take some from here, add it to here? It seems like one of the biggest problems is Meals on Wheels. What have you done to cut your budget a little bit to use that excess? It's easy to come ask.
Sure.
And everybody does, so you're not the Lone Ranger here. But, I always like to know, what have you done, because we make sacrifices within the county just about every time we turn around. Washington County Public Schools, they've just asked for a lot of money.
Right.
Be funded more money. Okay, I understand, and what are they doing also? Yes, you just that's my question.
So Randy, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because it gives me an opportunity to put a plug in for all of the community who stepped up during our annual campaign. 3,000, it was called Project 3,000, to provide 3,000 meals to those individuals on our wait list, and we exceeded that. And we're very thankful for the community for stepping up. The Bowman Foundation came forward and made a very significant contribution outside of that to be able to provide shelf-stable foods for these individuals on the wait list. So that is one thing that we continue to do, is fundraise. We gave you the gala information in hopes that we can create a legacy gala that will support our endowment to create sustainable funding, because that's what it's about. It's not this one time, keep coming back, keep asking, coming to the same well, but it's creating a model that creates sustainable funding for the organization. Looking at opportunities like the Community Health Worker Program or the NEED program that I mentioned, where people have resources and they can pay, or working with partners where we can get additional income to continue to support programs outside of the county's give. So we are trying to be as creative as we can to be able to do those things and create models that create revenue that can be used and flexible. But to answer your question about how can we move it, if you know about federal funding, you know they come in pockets. They're like gift cards. So you have a gift card to Martin's grocery store, but you can't use that at Weiss or Wise, whatever they call that, Walmart. Thank you, we'll go with Walmart. So, but it's very much like that. So we are very much loaded up in these gift cards in these specific areas, but we can't pick them up and move them, and the flexibility comes with the county money. We certainly have to use the county money to meet our matches for all those federal funds. As Peter described the example in his letter, we have these match requirements to be able to do those things. A good example is our RSVP volunteer program that helps to give money back to seniors for their mileage reimbursement for them helping us. That's what they get. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it can really help someone who's on a limited budget be able to help us and help their peers. And so that program requires a 30% matching increase to get about $50,000 to be able to serve. But I'm happy. I know these two gentlemen have seen my color-coded breakdown of every program and who funds it and where the funding comes from and where the pots fall. And I'm happy to educate anyone, sit down with anyone. I welcome you. So our doors are open. Please let us know, and we'd be happy to provide you any information.
Mr. Wagner, you and I think alike, because when I was at my first board meeting, I said, my question is what federal programs and what state programs can we eliminate and move that money over to Meals on Wheels and our interview process to get rid of all of those waiting lists? And the answer was, you can't do that. It's a requirement. It's like she said, you get that gift card to Walmart, you can't use it at Martin's, et cetera.
Okay, so last thing, I guess.
Yes.
The gala.
Yes.
April 20th,
Yes.
6 p.m., St. James
Yes.
School. Lou Scally
Yes.
is hosting, and should be a good time. Music, open bar, and everything, so.
Yes, a great
One more
meal. If you've
plug.
not ate dinner at St. James, the food is amazing. So please, I hope you will all come out, consider doing a sponsorship if that's something you're so willing to offer, but I would love to have all of you there to support seniors, caregivers, and our legacy program. So we just started with that, and hopefully we'll have all of your support. So
I just want to say one more thing. It's been said before, I think it's worth mentioning. Amy, you do a phenomenal job at the Commission on Aging, and everything you have to know about, it just boggles my mind at times. I received a call last year from a patient in a nursing home, distressed, and your ombudsman got on it right away. And, you know, those are people, when you deal with people in that grade of need, those are tough times. That's difficult. And I think you and your staff just do a phenomenal job. A couple years ago, I think it was maybe my first or second year as a commissioner, your department was facing a budget cut. I say your department, your agency was facing a budget cut. And I think you've had your budget cut since then. You know, if you look at adjustments we made to your budget for stimulus, or I'm sorry, not stimulus money, but surplus revenues. And then the following year, your budget went down. So if you look at what was adjusted for your budget, and then the following year, your budget went down. But about 2 years into my term as a commissioner, you were, I don't want to say instructed, but you were strongly encouraged to start fundraising. You know, and the AAA in Frederick County probably doesn't have to fundraise, but you were told you should fundraise more. And I think you took that head on. Galas, golf tournaments, joining the community foundations to their annual day of giving, and bringing in tens, I don't know how much money, but tens of thousands of extra dollars per year to, that you already mentioned, to augment your budget. And again, I don't know how much fundraising, it's not fair for me to speculate, but when the AAA is part of government, like in Frederick County, they probably don't fundraise like they don't ask their highway department to fundraise. But you were asked to fundraise and you did. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I just want to, before I leave, I would be remiss if I didn't share this with you. If you're not aware of the final rule for the Older Americans Act that goes into place in March of this year, we don't have all of the compliance information from the state. It's over 400 pages. And so there will be several things that will be changing that we'll be required to do. And as you know, the federal dollars don't always follow the mandates. So I will just share that with you, that I kind of describe it like a cupcake with lots of sprinkles on it, because we have to meet the mandates as your area agency on aging, and we want to provide quality service to all the people we serve. So we will do our very best. And as things unfold, I would like to come back and share that with you, of the requirements that are being put on us, so that you're at least aware of what's expected. Because one of the things I mentioned earlier was the dementia navigation program. If we have to use our Maryland Access Point staff to do all of the screenings for dementia, I want you to think about the time it will take for them to meet one-on-one with those clients, which means we will not be serving 11,000 people next year. So I just want to put that out there so that you're aware of what's coming down the pike. We will have until October of 2025 to make all of those new mandates that go into effect in March of this year put into play without any compliance issues. But that's coming forward, so I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that.
When might you be prepared to give us more information?
As soon as I hear something from the state, I'm waiting on them to come back to us.
Do you think it'll be this year?
Yes, I do believe it will be this year, for sure.
I hope so.
Yes.
Well, hopefully we can have that conversation. Maybe there's a will of the commissioners. You talked about more of a long-term plan.
Yes.
11,000 people turning 65 a day, and many times the services that they need may not start at 65. It might start a few years later. So that's definitely a growing demand, and I'd like to have that conversation if there's support among the commissioners to have a future conversation soon.
Well, I'll tell you, by the year 2034, there would be more people 65 years old in the United States of America than students 18 years and younger.
I just
By
have to say
2030.
65 is the new 50, okay?
That's right. That's right.
You know what?
That's
And I'm
right.
going to agree with you on that 100%.
That's right.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. If you have any ideas or want to talk, my door's open, my phone's available. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is FY25 General Fund Budget, Public Safety, Law Enforcement, and Emergency Services.
Sheriff Brian Albert. David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services. I
I think you have our budget in our packets, at least for the sheriff's department, and this is total package with over all our divisions, judicial, our process servers, patrol, and detention. We'd be requesting a total budget of $47,846,070, and that's an increase of 7%. Most of that's pay and wages, and then some of it is we requested an extra position in the detention center. We used to be a sworn correctional deputy, did the training and RN service, and we've requested a civilian to do that. We can do it at a much cheaper rate, and it doesn't take them out of the detention center for that job. Also, an increase that we've incurred is software increases. It's an ever-growing line item for law enforcement across the country. You know, our computer-aided dispatch, our body cams, all of that is just an increasing cost, and it's something that's mandated by the state that we have to do. And I'll let Dave present his, or if you have any questions first on ours.
So for the emergency services, we're managing the air unit, special operations, EMS, fire, the public safety training center, and then we have the oversight of volunteer programs budget. Overall, we're requesting a budget of $28,612,630, which is an increase of $6.387 million from our FY24. The bulk of that is encumbered through increases in programs for the volunteer services. And I'm going to ask Rick Hemphill to come up here shortly just to cover a small part of their budget. But 1.422 million of that is for volunteer services, and that represents increases in insurance premiums and then recommended increases in the general allocation and the company fundraising incentives that the commissioners have authorized. For EMS operations, that represents one of the biggest increases or sustained increases. There's $1.2 million in there for additional consideration of EMS transition for FY25. And then going through the position request, just to give you a snapshot, because we do have several. In 11.520, which is EMS, there are 2 requests for upgrades, our programs administrator and the QA/QI officer. Both of those are position requests for upgrades due to the impending transition of EMS employees. In the fire, we have 13 requested positions. 8 of those are firefighter FAOs. We have 4 battalion chiefs to provide us the 24-hour supervision. Systemically, right now, we provide supervision from 4 captains on shift that are part of a 3-person engine company crew, so they're not able to really roam the county and try to deal with those. And then we have a logistics specialist request to help us manage about $20 million in assets that we have floating around the county. And in the Public Safety Training Center, we have a request for an office associate, and then we also have a request for an assistant jurisdictional medical director, which also would serve as a medical director for the paramedic program. That is a requirement that's currently handled by our part-time medical director for the operational program in whole. Rick, you want to cover the association's budget?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. Basically, we still have 1,130 volunteers in Washington County Fire and Rescue. We do lose them, and the efforts of our recruitment and retention coordinator helps keep that relatively flat. Last year, our volunteers donated over 200,000 hours of their time to the fire and rescue companies and the calls. They went on over 2,800 responses to that, and of course, that's reflected in the incentive portion. Our recruitment and retention, we are asking for an additional, because we're giving up 15 for fingerprinting, et cetera, we don't need an extra $5,000 to go into a targeted marketing process for our recruitment and retention, so that through Antietam Cable, they're able to send ads to people of a certain age group that live in a certain place, and it's incredibly targeted, and it's been very effective for him this past year.
Also, the safety trailer, which now has been scheduled about 4 times more than it has in the past couple of years, is going out, and we've asked for some additional funding for additional documents or items to go with that when they go to schools, to the Ag Center and various places. We've asked for additional monies in physicals because we have seen an uptick in physicals recently as the word's getting out that they need to have them. And so we are getting an incremental increase in the number of physicals that's expected to be substantially more as it tightens up. We've asked for an additional $5,000 in ESO to have a portal for the safety officers and fire police to do additional reporting. We've also asked for an increase in the incentives, which are working very well. We now have 859 of the 1,100 volunteers signed up for incentive. The average incentive a quarter is about $35 or $40 per person, not counting the pay per call. Some of them get more because they do more, and it's basically on an activity basis that they can return that. Most people get the AT&T gas card, which gives them food and fuel. But we do have some others. And then we've also asked for some pagers and support for our 255 rehab unit because the unit itself, I know, is in CIP to be replaced in so many years, but the individual freezers, coffee makers, and things like that that they utilize are wearing out. And we've also asked for some additional vehicles for our fire police to help control the scenes, safety scenes, and things like that. And that's basically what our requested increases are. Everything else has held pretty good. The pay per call has gotten, as I said, over 2,800 responses to alarms, and we have 859 people signed up for incentive, and we've added as an additional incentive a membership to a local health club, which should help with the physicals and their physical well-being as well, if they select it. Any questions?
I'm not sure if this was mentioned or not. I'll just reiterate it. If it was, the general allocation for fire was increased from $105,000 per station to $110,250. It's about a 5% increase.
And that's consistent with what we've done in the last 2 budget cycles and that direction of commissioners 3 budget cycles ago.
And Rick, that stipend seems to help the volunteers getting there and getting the calls, right?
It does. It gets people not only to be in the station, which is the one stipend program where they're assisted for just showing up at the station and waiting on a call, and then we have the additional calls that people are there to run on is much higher.
Yeah, I saw the awards, and some of those guys make a lot, and gals make a lot of calls.
Yeah, some of them do. Some of them fortunately are able to. And they do that while they're still working somewhere else many times, and everything else. But as I say, if it's based on our LoSAP numbers from 2023, it's well over 200,000 hours, probably close to 230,000 total donated hours.
Sheriff Albert, how many vacancies do you have in your regular force, not counting the prison?
Currently, in the patrol function, we have 8 vacancies. We are in the process of holding this coming Saturday is a one-day hiring event that you had to be signed up prior to attending. And so we have a few in the process, but we have 8 vacancies. And then currently, we have 7 vacancies in the, correct me if I'm wrong, Warden? 7?
7 uniform and 1 civilian.
So 7 in the detention center deputies, and we were at 18 at one time. So the bonus has helped some, and we've made it a priority to hire to get those people in the door.
Okay, and then is there an impact on overtime usage because of those vacancies? Do you have more overtime for your patrol force, or?
We're probably reducing it a little bit just because we were down more vacancies prior to this time. Our overtime budget stays about the same. It's probably rare that we use a manpower overtime for when we get the minimum. Our minimum on patrol is 6 at any time. So we do have that overtime, but it's not exaggerated or an enormous amount.
Okay, and Dave, same question for you?
Yes, it definitely has an impact on our overtime. You recall, we just graduated 8 recruits out of recruit class number 5. That puts us down 2 positions in the FAO side. And then, of course, it's not impacting us at this point, but we're going through the hiring and transition at EMS. We had 5 vacancies there that existed in the companies, and we're in the process of hiring those. But it absolutely having a reduction in FTEs as far as employed creates an
But you've
overtime.
had a lot of overtime.
Yes.
And is there a plan to get away from that?
Our goal is to try to, well, we've done a lot of work. We hired a background investigator. We're trying to streamline our hiring processes. And as I had spoken to early, HR has really been extremely supportive in trying to move the things that they control relative to hiring forward so we can compress the timing for us. If we lose one person, it's very difficult to hire just one person because of the academy and the cost to run the academy. So we typically have to be down at least 3, if not 4 positions. And we have hired a full-time fire rescue instructor last year, if you remember in the budget that was authorized. That has given us additional horsepower to run smaller academies, but again, it's going to be very difficult to run an academy that small.
And the background investigator, you guys share him? Is it the same one?
No, we have one we've hired one at the Sheriff's Department that does background specifically for detention and patrol and our civilians.
And do you have a different one?
We have a different one,
Okay.
and that person is doing both our employee backgrounds, and we don't have it actionized yet. We'll be in here presenting a plan to the commissioners, but we are going to do backgrounds on the volunteers as well. That background will do both of those. Now, I don't know how long it'll be, but our plan, Brian and I's conversations have been, is when he has a larger hiring event or we have a backload of background investigators, if there's lag time on one side or the other to potentially support each other with some additional horsepower. So,
Great, thank you.
Hey,
Commissioner
Dave,
Harvey, I'd have to clarify on when I said it didn't create any more overtime, we do have overtime, but we didn't increase our budget. It budgeted overtime, is what I meant.
So what do you pay out in overtime during a year?
On a year, I think it's around 375,000.
Okay.
Michelle's digging,
I'm
I think.
looking.
She's going to tell you.
It's in here somewhere.
Dave, you said you had 1.2 million in there for future potentially another maybe EMS station or something. Is that dedicated just to that?
yes. That would, if we didn't bring any stations, then that money wouldn't get expensed.
But you won't shift that to something else. That'll stay there for that, right? Yeah. And with that, of course, I think we'd have to vote on that anyway. But is that adequate?
I believe so. If you remember when we did the proposal and we gave you the snapshot of bringing the entire thing, it was going to be just short of $2 million. And if you look at the $1 million that we currently had, plus the 1.2, that's going to put us in the ballpark.
Yep.
Once we get across, and I don't want to go too far off the side of the road, but I do think it's important to mention, there is additional revenue that is available to us in a Medicaid program through the federal government. But in order to access that, you actually have to be the provider of the service. That is one of the conversations we go down the road. If additional companies come on board, we have a bigger group of Medicaid calls. That could be an offsetting revenue generation. The only other thing I wanted to cover is on the position request, just to make sure that the commissioners, we are currently we have 4 letters from 4 fire departments that are asking for additional firefighters, full-time firefighters. So that's where those 8 firefighters are attempting to take a bite of those requests and not have to hire 30 or 40 at one time. So I just want to make sure for transparency that conversation is out there.
So you're saying there could be more firefighters going into individual stations? Is that what you're saying?
We have 4 letters right now that do not have
requesting
full-time
paid
firefighters.
firefighters.
Now, we are providing part-time help to those groups.
Okay.
But we just can't get enough part-time hours to feed them enough part-time help.
And I do,
His question before I ask him a question?
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to give the overtime information for detention. It looks like historically we spend about 1.1 million on overtime, about 8.7 million on regular wages. It doesn't look like overall he goes over budget between regular and overtime wages. His overtime goes over, but overall he's not going over. And then for patrol, overtime runs around $275,000 to $300,000, and it doesn't look like it goes over budget.
A question maybe more so for the sheriff, but either of the gentlemen up here, are you seeing any regulations or legislation, either at the state or federal level, which has put an undue or put an increased strain on your budgets?
Right now, I say this with reservation since we're only halfway through the session, but we haven't seen the legislation that's as impactful to police and the, as we have in the past. So I think it's kind of a, in fact, last year we do a legislative briefing every Monday morning at 10 o'clock in Laurel that all the sheriffs and the chiefs attend. We were doing that and it was taking 2.5 hours. We just changed it over to Zoom as of yesterday for the rest of the session because we don't have as many bills that we're testifying against or supporting. So it seems like that's leveled out here a little bit.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll be the new wave of the future.
So the damage was done previously, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner, I don't know that I would address this in specific to regulation, but we definitely see impactors to revenue and or cost of doing business. One of them is something that we've been fortunate enough is the AFG grant process and the SAFER grant process. Yeah, you're aware that we received a significant award for a SAFER grant, about $8.75 million. And then we had two subsequent AFG awards, one for portable radios and one for SCBAs, each of those about 1.9. The conversations that we've gotten is there's, again, a renewed push to either reduce or eliminate both of those programs to some level. Now, I haven't seen anything recent, but I know that is a conversation that's out there, so we're trying to watch that and certainly will offer our support and maybe even seek this group's support if that becomes something that we need to move forward. But I think more importantly, and just to stress the importance of the financial commitment and what you've already done and what you'll continue to need to do, is we have 4 ladder trucks in the county, and that's the vehicles that have aerial devices on top of the rig. All of those are in excess of 24 years old, and in most cases, in 2 of those cases, they're over 25 years old. Those are anywhere between $1.5 and $2 million to replace. That's probably at today's dollars. And we've gotten a letter from one company that they are anticipating an inability to financially replace that piece of apparatus. And I can tell you another company from a financial picture that we're aware of, there's not an option for them to replace that. So not a conversation that we have to address here today, but there is a looming financial implication to the volunteers and their ability to buy and purchase apparatus. Right now, their basic engine's about $1 million a piece. That probably 4 years ago was just north of $500,000, $600,000. But this inflation and the driving forces that are affecting it is really pricing the volunteers, at least their ability to purchase apparatus in many cases, out of business. So that's going to be something the commissioners are going to be faced with.
Dave, also, I think, I don't want to sit here and be doom and gloom, but there's not much talk that I'm aware of that moving forward with the mandate of electric vehicles and electric school buses and so forth, my hat's off to the EMS, but that's going to bring a whole new dynamic to EV potential hazards and fires and rescue.
They're a complicated demon to put out. In traditional firefighting methods, we might have been able to put a car fire out with 500 gallons of water. We're probably executing 50,000 gallons of water to get that fire under control. There are some techniques out there, and again, we're looking at those, trying to figure out if there's a more effective means, whether it's a device that you can slide under the car that actually comes up and punctures the battery, and you introduce water directly into the containment of the battery, because that's where the thermal reaction is happening. You can put the fire on the car, but the thermal reaction inside that battery, till that battery burns up, is still there. So there are blankets out there now, but long story short, yes, it's going to bring additional complications and
dollars.
Certainly dollars attached to it.
Well, I know you mentioned ladder trucks, and I've heard from some fire companies, and probably not in the last several months, but just a concern as these large mega warehouses and structures are being built. I know Halfway was concerned when Amazon went in on Waysville Boulevard, having the equipment, if an incident were to happen there, just having the equipment to handle a fire or other type of incident in just a building that large.
Yes.
And do we have the ladder trucks that can reach? Do we have enough? Do we have them at the right companies based on where so that's creating not a legislative burden, but that's a burden that we're seeing a consequence of some of those larger buildings. Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do. Do we want to take a 3-minute recess? Good? Okay, everybody good?
Just keep walking out.
Next item is FY 2025 General Fund Budget, revised revision. Revised version, I'm sorry.
It's a
Excuse me.
requested version.
actually- yeah.
Requested. There was a mistake on there.
Oh,
It
okay.
should be requested.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kelsey Mace, Chief Financial Officer.
Kim Edlin, Director of Budget and Finance.
And today I just wanted to give you a really high brief overview of general fund requested budget. Total requested revenues is $299.1 million, which is an $18 million or 6.4% increase over the FY24 approved budget. Included in your agenda packet is a summary of the requested revenues and the change from the 24 approved budget, and they are also in tab 1 of your binders. These revenues are going to be reevaluated during the budget review process, and some adjustments may be included in the proposed budget. The requested expenditures came in at $315.2 million, which is a $34.2 million or 12.2% increase over the FY24 approved budget. The shortfall in the requested budget is $16.1 million, and a summary of the requested expenditures by department is also included in your agenda packet. Next week, we will be presenting in much more detail the balanced proposed general fund budget. So today, I just wanted to give you that quick, brief overview of the totals.
Questions, comments?
Do you have any updates you can share, and if not now, maybe by email, of where we stand with our current fiscal year budget and revenues, expenses?
Yes, that'll be also included next week with the 5-year projection that will be presented.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm up again.
Okay.
Again, real
Next.
brief.
So next item is discussion of the 2025 to 2034 capital budget, draft 1.
Good morning again. Kelsey Mace, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Zane Garrett, Deputy Director, Budget and Finance.
And I just wanted to give the board another opportunity to give any feedback or comments on the 25 through 2034 capital plan. As it is right now in draft 1, the FY25 capital budget is $73.7 million. So since you had 2 weeks to kind of digest what we went over in the last meeting, I wanted to give you another opportunity for questions or comments.
Whether related to this or the previous agenda item, I haven't heard conversations of late about a proposed tax rate. Are those decisions still yet to be made? Are they buried in here somewhere? Or does this mark the first year that the constant yield is no longer required as a publication in the newspaper?
Yeah, so this will be the first year that the notification will be different, to where we are only going to be advertising if a tax rate increase is being proposed versus if it is different from the constant yield. So yes, that change does go in effect for this budget. At this time, I'll go ahead and say that for the 25 budget, we're not currently proposing a tax increase with the proposed budget we're preparing currently.
Thank you.
So Kelsey or Michelle, if there was a proposal for some type of modification to our income tax rate, it would not take effect until when?
The income tax rate would take effect January the 1st, so we would get a half year of it, and then the disparity grant would probably be the following year after that.
Okay, and then if you do submit a modification, some of the options that are available are, you could have tiered changes to the.
Correct.
You could have 3.2% for people that are making $80,000 or more a year, and you can have it, come on down you could keep it the same for people that are making $65,000 and less, correct?
Correct. We could make any tier that you want to, and the disparity grant would adjust based on those tiers. In other words, if you have some of our residents at a lower rate, we wouldn't get the full disparity grant, but it would increase substantially.
Okay, and then,
Sometimes what's referred to as a progressive tax structure.
Yeah, a tiered rate, yes.
yep. And then if you, you wouldn't get the full disparity grant if you did something like that, correct?
It would
Right.
not, it would increase, but it would not be the full amount.
Okay, and then is there any way we can get an estimate on what revenue may come from something like that, going to 3.2 for people over 85,000, and then keeping it the same for people making 65,000 or less?
We can do a projection, yes.
Okay, and then lastly, if a family of four making $65,000 a year, my understanding is that there would not be any impact on them, even if we increased it to 3.2%, because of the way the current tax structures and the deductions that exist.
Most likely there would not, as they would probably get a full tax refund and most likely even earned income credit at the end of the year and get more.
Right. And then just a point of clarification on something that came up earlier. People getting assistance of different types, whether it's school lunch assistance or other things. The calculation is, I think, 2.5 times the poverty level. So you can be, making $80,000 a year and still be getting
Partial probably,
assistance.
yeah.
Okay. Thank
Well,
you.
if you have a family, that is, not
Not as an individual.
usually a single individual wouldn't be
Right.
eligible.
But they wouldn't be applying for school lunch programs and breakfast programs. and
Correct.
that sort of thing. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Kelsey.
you.
Thank you. Next item is ENR upgrade for Smithsburg wastewater treatment plant.
Morning, I'm Joe Moss, Deputy Director of Engineering for the Department of Water Quality. As you know, we're moving forward with the upgrade to the Smithsburg wastewater treatment plant, and the design consultants have asked for a supplement to their rates that they quoted us back in 2019 for this project. So I see that as I see their request as fair and reasonable. I checked it against the Consumer Price Index for the same period from 2019 through 2023. The average was approximately 20.8% that the CPI rose. The ranges that they're asking for on their hourly rates are 5.6 to 13.4. So I feel that this is a fair and reasonable request.
You need a vote on that?
I think so.
Yes, sir.
That hard dollar amount is $58,648, is that, am
I'm
I
sorry?
reading that? The hard dollar amount, is that the change order?
Yes, sir.
$58,648?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Next item is Maryland Administrative Office of the Courts Security Funding. Approval to accept grant award.
Good morning, Christine Gross-Nickel, Court Administrator, Washington County Circuit Court.
Good morning, Richard Lesh, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management. We are here to request a motion to accept the funding in the amount of $42,920 for the Circuit Court Security Funding. These are grant funds that will be used to install ballistic protection on the wall and doors of the 2 new offices adjoining the Clerk of the Court's office. These offices will be passed by public, accessing public kiosks and the Clerk's Criminal Department office, therefore emphasizing the need for increased ballistic protection. The Office of Grant Management has reviewed the grant funding guidelines, and there are no unusual conditions or requirements attached to the acceptance of these funds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Contract award PUR 1653, Washington County Solid Waste Department Landfill Gas Utilization Project. Good morning, David.
Good morning. I guess Rick's not here yet, so. If Rick were here, he would tell you that we are here to award the contract for the landfill gas utilization project, our highest responsive bidder. The work in this project is limited to includes but not limited to financing the landfill gas project under facilities and all required infrastructure, conversion facility planning, design, permitting for project development and implementation, construction, operation, maintenance, regulatory compliance, decommissioning at the end of life service, conversion, product marketing, sale, and distribution. The proposer shall, as part of the project, be responsible for the installation of all additional electrical facilities needed for the project operations, and shall provide and maintain their own water system, sewer connection, telephone, other voice data communication infrastructure services. At the time of award, the project will be designed and constructed for the existing cells in phase one. Hey, Rick. The system will be able to expand the landfill as the landfill expands vertically with the completion of phase one and the construction of phase two cells.
I apologize. I was out of the office yesterday and trying to catch up, so.
Oh, good.
Kind of missed you guys.
So,
He's did a fine job for you, Rick, so don't, just sit back and relax.
Good, good. Be my replacement.
so Dave, can I just ask a question then?
Yes.
They're going to provide a service to recover what, natural gas from
The methane
the
produced at the
methane?
landfill.
And then they're going to sell it?
Correct.
And they're going to pay us how much for that over 20 years?
It varied based on the.
That chart in the
amount of
back?
Production, yes. based
Okay,
on the
but
chart.
basically, it's an income flow for us.
Yes. The goal is for no expense from the county. We would just
Okay.
make revenues.
Well, in reading through it, it looked pretty good to me, but we're locking in a price point now for a 20-year period though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And as the volume expands, as we expand the landfill, volume of gas expands. Which then, additional revenues.
What currently happens? So the gas is just leached out into the air?
Yes, yes. This is based off of the new regulations. So they keep restricting greenhouse gas emissions from landfills.
Yep.
We were always under the emission limits, but now we have to do something.
Okay. Well, I motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor for approval as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I do have just one question, if I can. Is this only for the 40 West landfill?
Yes, we included the Rush Road landfill in the proposal, but we had no takers.
Okay. And then what about the old landfill in Hancock that the county still kind of maintains some kind of level of responsibility for
Yes,
ongoing
that
maintenance?
one is not included in the new regs because of when it went out of service.
Okay.
Just like the old city of Hagerstown landfill. That one is same category as Hancock. It didn't accept trash after a certain year, so it's not included in these current regulations.
Okay. So it doesn't produce methane?
It does, but they should have been dormant long enough that the methane production is minimal and will be continuing to decline.
It's trailed off. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is contract award, purchase 1637, terminal building roof repairs.
Good morning, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Finally.
Andrew Ashelman, Director of Public Works.
the 74-year contract award PUR 1637, terminal building roof repairs. Recommended motion move to award a contract for the terminal building roof repair project to a responsive bidder, Roof Roughing and Sheet Metal Incorporated of Hillthorpe, Maryland, who submitted the lowest total lump sum bid in amount of $204,872.40. As you can see in the RF, they're going to repair the roof, has been leaking somewhat for a time. It's to be completed within 30 days. There is a sum of $500 for liquidated damages. The bid was advertised as we normally do. There is $250,000 budget for the project, and there is a bid tabulation matrix attached for your convenience. Any questions?
The only question,
Motion to approve.
Second.
there's a motion and a second. I do have a question for Andrew. Last time I was at terminal and it was leaking pretty badly there around the rental car unit running down the stone column. Is there any concern or any need for repointing of that stonework on that column?
So yes, that has already been done. We did that first on those two front columns near there. It's still seeping down through, and so this work will include some flashing and a cap to prevent that from seeping down through the masonry.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks. I know that leak caused a lot of residuals, so
Yes.
thank you very much.
So hopefully this addresses it once and for all.
Next item is bid award 1644, food services at the Washington County Black Rock Golf Course.
Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Randy Nagelbauer in the Purchasing Department. The first recommendation I have for you this morning is the bid award PUR 1644, food services at the Washington County Black Rock Golf Course. Move to award the contract for food service operations in the cafe area of the golf course to the responsible bidder, CNC Catering LLC, doing business as the 19th hole at Black Rock of Hagerstown, Maryland, who submitted the base annual rent of $36,000 a year. This award is also contingent upon the final approval of the contract, which is in the county attorney's office currently. On November 29, 2023, the county issued a request for proposal for food services at the Washington County Black Rock Golf Course located at 20025 Mount Etna Road in Hagerstown, Maryland. The leased area would be for the kitchen, bar, and the assigned dining area. The contract term is for a 3-year period with 1-year optional renewals. The rent structure will be based on a fixed monthly fee for a period of 3 years, and the increase of a 4%, not to a maximum increase of 4% every year after that the option to renew is presented. The Black Rock Golf Course hosts approximately about 30,000 rounds of golf per year and about 40 golf tournaments per year. The current situation for food being provided out there is a prepackaged snack or a canned or bottled beverage. There's currently no on-site food prep. The golf course has a fully usable commercial kitchen and dining area. The golf course operates year-round, 7 to 5 daily, 7 days a week, exclusive of holidays and weather closures. The request for proposal was published on the local newspaper, the county website, and on the State of Maryland's eMaryland Marketplace website. 30 companies downloaded the document, and we received one back. And do you want to speak of the one that we got back and how the business came about?
Sure. I think it's worth noting that we're excited about anytime we can support new businesses and growth. And so this is a business where the individual has plenty of restaurant experience working for other companies, but had a desire and passion to start her own. And so she had been working through the HCC incubator program that was started up over there, and she's preparing to graduate that program in May and fulfill her dream of opening a restaurant. So we're thrilled to support that partnership. They help with the business aspects and as well as having that pipeline, for future business successes and part-time employees and that sort of thing. So we're excited about the possibilities in the future and happy to support HCC and a new business in our community.
Yeah, to get somebody that energetic coming from the incubator, and, I've heard you talk about this particular person at our meetings. you know, I think it's worthy, and you only had one bid, and she's going to come in there with a lot of excitement, and I think it's a good thing.
The food was phenomenal. We did testing and evaluated
that. How
everything.
did I miss that?
I'm sorry. We'll get you an invite then on the opening. But the food will certainly be a step up from where we're currently at and even where previously.
God, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is rejection of bid 1663 swimming pool resurfacing at the Martin L. Marty's Snook Pool.
Randy Nagelbauer in the Purchasing Department.
Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Ann Boyd, Parks Manager. The next recommendation is the rejection of bid 1663, swimming pool resurfacing at the Marty Snook Pool. Move to take action in the best interest of the county and request the bid for the swimming pool resurfacing at Marty Snook Pool be rejected due to the bid exceeding the estimated budget. The department shall make all necessary repairs prior to the pool opening for the season, and we will prepare a new solicitation to be out and brought back in for the services to be performed in early September at the close of the season.
So basically, we don't have anybody do the pool.
Not to do the entire thing. We're going to need to do a patch. It's just unfortunately far too expensive. I know, Pam, do you have anything to add about the bid process and talking to contractors?
It's just difficult. To read through the bid documents, it takes some time, and some of them are hesitant to follow the process.
Gotcha.
We've also got the feedback that it's a time thing, so they had to plan their schedule for pool repairs, and they just didn't have the time to put it in there.
So we'll fix it in-house, continue patching it.
So there is a vendor who's willing to participate and do a small repair to help with us to fix the worst areas. But again, it's the price that they initially quoted is here's what it would be if I could do it with adequate time. It just doesn't make sense. I wouldn't feel comfortable financially asking for that amount of money.
Right.
So we'll try to do our best to get it serviceable for this season.
Are you expected to be able to open the pool up on time, or will it be down over summer at all, or?
We do expect to be able to open on time.
Good. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item is intergovernmental cooperative purchase, 24-0140, line striping of county roads.
Randy Nagelbauer in the Purchasing Department.
Doug Levine, Supervisor of Highway Operations.
The last recommendation I have for you this morning is the intergovernmental cooperative purchase, INDG-240140, line striping for county roads. Move to authorize by resolution for the Highway Department to utilize the Howard County, Maryland line striping contract with Alpha Space Controls LLC out of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, for line striping on various roads within the county in the amount of $162,642. The Code of Public Law of Washington County does provide that the Board of County Commissioners may award a contract for these services based on another government entity's award, as long as we abide by the same terms and conditions of the contract. The county will benefit with a direct cost savings for these services due to the economies of scale that the contract has leveraged. Funding in the amount of $169,000 is available in the department's budget.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item, request for concurrence approval of airport's recommended FY25 earmark application with changes to the request associated with annual O&M costs and facility ownership responsibilities. Mouthful.
It is, I apologize. Good morning, everyone. Wanted to get your feedback. We have applied for approximately the last 10 years to various programs seeking funding from the FAA for replacement of our aging air traffic control tower. So what I'm seeking today is a motion that would allow us to try again through the earmark process, congressionally directed spending, but to perhaps try this year with the removal of the specific language that's asking that the FAA continue to own and pay the annual operation and maintenance costs of the tower. We have gotten legislative staffers who will ask us after we submit, is this a condition that is linked to receiving a grant? And sometimes through the earmark process, they may be able to send funds to the FAA and have a little bit more flexibility. So I wanted to get your feelings about it. It is an expense to own the tower. Looking at the experience in Frederick, Maryland, and speaking to their airport management team, $50,000 to $100,000 a year they spend on their tower. That was brand new. They had a tower that wasn't completely equipped from day one, and so they had to add other systems and things like that over the years. And they tell me how much time they have to put in, their own personal staff time to maintain it. And so these considerations have always led us to the thought of, in any request, to ask that the FAA continue to own and maintain it. So we have mixed feelings on the subject, but we also, with every year of unsuccessfully not being able to draw down funds for a replacement tower, our facility just gets older and older and more deficient.
So let me sort of get this straight, because you got me confused now, and I
Right.
listened to it all. The tower is owned by the FAA.
Yes, sir.
The air traffic controllers are contracted by the FAA, I guess. And right now, everybody knows the tower's too short, it's old, it's obsolete. The controls that control the lights, taxis, runways, et cetera, are obsolete. So did you say we wanted to own the tower? Is that what you said?
Well, I don't think we want to, but if it's the only way to get a new tower.
It's hard to get a new tower if FAA owns it. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, yeah. And so there may be a little bit more flexibility through the earmark process. And if the question is asked, would Washington County be willing to accept ownership for this structure? Then they might provide a grant and build it for us and get us 100% grant funded. It could cost $8 million to build it.
Right.
But then the ongoing maintenance, it's almost like the FAA would be incentivized to give us that money because now it's not on their regional maintenance team to keep up with it.
So the downside is, how hard would it be for us to own it?
But it wouldn't be hard paperwork-wise.
And FAA would be fine with that?
Well, they like transferring this responsibility onto airport sponsors.
And it would cost us $100,000 a year to maintain the tower.
I think that's a good estimate, yes. Plus the staff time. You know, our staff is already maintaining all the properties we have in the airfield.
Would we then need to contract and employ the controllers?
No, this does not cover the payment of their salaries. This is just the physical maintenance of the structure and the systems of the tower.
So FAA continues to contract the controllers for our tower at that point?
Yeah, it's a separate program called the Federal Contract Tower Program, which pays a private company.
Well, I know if FAA owns it,
staffing
we
in
heard this yesterday, if FAA owns it, it's almost impossible to get a new tower for us, right? Is that correct? Is that a good assumption?
Yes, and concurrently, we're working another angle, which is Senator Van Hollen's office. We have a letter where they'll do an inquiry of the FAA to their air traffic organization, ATO, asking them, do you have Hagerstown Tower on your plan for replacement? And if so, when are you going to do it?
So what it boils down for the commissioners is it's going to cost the county and taxpayers $100,000 to maintain a ton of that tower if we transfer it over, right?
Yeah, it would either be the airport's enterprise fund budget
An
or.
$8 million tower for $100,000 a year, which would equivalent to 80 years.
And that would, I'm leaning like, yeah, well, we need a new tower, but what's staff think about it out there, Andrew and you, and what's your thoughts on it?
Well, none of us are experts in the maintenance of a tower, so there's always been questions about, what kind of lift will this be for us? But it is frustrating year after year after year to just have no forward progress.
Well, we heard from the experts that it's almost impossible to get a tower if the FAA owns it. Correct?
I think it's summarized as another example where the federal government is looking to offload and shift responsibilities to local airports or local communities. And so we don't like the situation we're in, but I think the underlying reality is every year we don't do something is effectively making a decision. And unfortunately, through the bill programs that came out, they have a program for towers. It does not apply to our situation. Whether that was intentional or unintentional, it was not applied. And so, as they're looking across the country, we fall in that category where FAA would almost love to get out of the tower business, out of the management, because it's a cost burden to them. And so we're just so far at the bottom of the list, it's impeding our ability. But the question is, at what point do we continue to do what we've been doing and hold out hope things will change versus,
Just
in this
like-
case, do we look at removing this stipulation, which none of us like. We're not here saying, yes, we're thrilled about this. It's just the reality of we've been down this road for a long time. Do we try something different?
I think Jeff summed it up, $100,000 for potential of getting an $8 million tower, and that's going to, people who come to look at the airport for one reason or another, where investments, development, because there's development room out there, as we all know. I mean, that's a concern if there's air traffic. How updated is, we're updating the lighting on the runways and taxiways, right? So
Yeah.
I would, just brief conversation, I would say, yeah, I'd take a chance. I'd like to get a new tower.
I think it's worth exploring. I think we've talked about a new tower for years now, it seems. I don't know when it starts, but I think did we look at one time at buying a used tower? I think we bought property so we could maybe tear down a portion of a building so we could have a better sign of light with the shorter tower that we do have. That's cost us money. So yeah, I think maybe the time is right to look at this option.
And we could just not mention it in the actual earmark request. If they come back and offer it, well, I can come before you all and we can actually make the decision at that point, do we want to accept it? Or you can motion that I could accept it if awarded to us.
Because at this point, the earmark request is for the full cost. So sometimes there's a lot of back and forth on, well, what if we give you $5 million instead of $8 million? And what if we do this stipulation and that stipulation? So this isn't the final decision,
There's
so to
also a
speak.
safety feature here. The tower has blind spots on the airfield. Thank God, I don't think it's ever created a runway incursion of anything, but it could. I mean, you can't see the tower from certain parts of the airfield, so I think you got to think about the safety aspect of it too. Whatever, I'm okay with it, but
I say we need a new tower. Let's explore all the options. It would be my
yeah, me too.
suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
We have a consensus?
Consensus on that?
Yeah, sounds like it, yep.
Yep, I think so.
We'll be able to submit by
Thank you.
March 8th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is Crystal Falls Drive property acquisition. Todd, good morning.
Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, Division of Engineering. Move to approve the option agreements for partial property acquisition and conveyance of existing right-of-way, including fee simple and easements for 47 Crystal Falls Drive and 12136 Crystal Falls Drive, and approve an ordinance approving said purchase and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Option agreements have been executed for the two above stated properties. Fee simple and easement acquisition are shown in the table below. First property, 47 Crystal Falls Drive, $2,628 temporary construction easement for $2,000. Next is 12136 Crystal Falls Drive, owned by the city of Hagerstown. Fee area is 785 square feet, easement area consisting of 5,197 square feet of temporary construction easement, and that's a donation. This is for a federal aid bridge replacement project. Crystal Falls Drive Bridge over Beaver Creek is located near the town of Smithburg, approximately 1/2 mile south of the intersection of Maryland Route 66 and Maryland Route 77. Any questions?
So that city of Hagerstown owns it, is that because of the reservoir there?
That's correct.
Okay, the reservoir there, okay, good. I'm good with this.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor for approval. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
5-0. Next item, update on Smithsburg Emergency Medical Services.
Good morning, David Hayes, Director of Emergency Services.
Eric Jacobs, Operations Manager.
Joni Gerber, President of Smithsburg EMS.
And Eric is sitting in for Chief Chisholm. He is meeting his first grandchild today, so he had an unexpected departure. And then Dale is committed in a police recertification. Commissioners, we thought with the upcoming, oh, Dale is here. I apologize. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Dale Fishak, Chief of Emergency Medical Services.
So with the upcoming transition, employee transition planned for this Saturday, we thought it prudent to come in and recap a decision that the board had made about 4 years ago when Smithsburg Emergency Medical Services were placed under the oversight and supervision of the Division of Emergency Services, specifically on May 21st, 2019. And that was part of a restructuring plan subsequent to financial, administrative, and operational challenges. To date, their leadership has exhibited exceptional management, strong financial planning, and we wanted to give them an opportunity to come here, brief to that real quickly, and then I think they have another announcement to give to you as well.
May I go ahead? Good morning, President Barr, Vice President Klein, Commissioners. I'm pleased to come before you today on behalf of Smithsburg EMS. In May 2019, you graciously provided us with a $100,000 loan to remain solvent as we were experiencing some financial difficulties. Since that time, the leadership of the company has worked diligently to reorganize the organization. Today, Smithsburg EMS has a newly remodeled station, purchased an ambulance to replace an aging unit, and made a substantial down payment on rechassising of our other ambulance. We currently have invested $250,000 in a local bank and have sufficient funds in our general accounts to operate the company. I'm happy to report today that we have mailed a check to pay off the remaining amount on the county loan. The Smithsburg community has been very generous and supported Smithsburg EMS throughout this transformation and during COVID. It is my belief that during this change to county staffing, they will continue to support Smithsburg Emergency Services. We have worked fluently with the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association and DES and followed their recommendations as we work to restore our company to a strong organization. I would like to personally thank Deputy Director Chisholm, who was appointed to assist us during this time. He spent countless hours helping us to rebuild Smithsburg EMS. I would like to also recognize the 3 long-term full-time employees, Office Manager Tammy Miller, Captain Paul Verdon, and EMT Jeff Hardman, who stayed the course during these difficult times. Their commitment to the organization was instrumental in correcting our course. I would also like to thank the following: SEK partner Kelly Cobb and her team, who worked with us as we rebuilt our financial situation, Chief Dale Fishak, Vice President Heath Abbott, and the Board of Directors, who gave willingly of their time and expertise. Without their contributions, we would have been unable to complete this task. Finally, I would like to thank the Smithsburg Emergency Medical staff for enduring the many changes and continuing to provide exceptional service to the people of Smithsburg and the surrounding areas. I know that the merger to county employment is the correct path, and I wish all of you well. Again, words cannot express our gratitude to the Washington County Board of County Commissioners for their unwavering support, which has allowed us to return Smithsburg EMS to a functioning EMS station, providing invaluable service to our citizens. Thank you. And thank you to Dave Hayes for all he has done as well.
Yeah, I think that shows that when we started this journey when you guys had a little bit of issues, troubles, that everybody cooperated, everybody jumped in together, and this is extremely, you got, very solvent and successful, and it just, a partnership with everybody, all the commissioners and DES and you guys, Smithburg, it shows it works, so.
And I had highlighted that same conversation. Vice President Klein was there at the Community Volunteer Fire Company's banquet, that when county government partners collaboratively with the volunteer services and the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association, that is a force that cannot be replaced. And again, this is just a testament, and I would say from the county or the division standpoint, we only had to touch them one time, and that was not in a bad way. They didn't have enough membership in the beginning stages to actually elect a chief. So because we were empowered with that ability, I appointed Chief Fishak here. We didn't have to go by their bylaws at that point, but that's the only time we had to touch them. So I really want to emphasize to President Gerber's leadership and her board of directors, their diligence and tenacity in getting here. So thank you.
Heath has all the improvements we made to the station as well.
Sure, if you'll indulge me for a second. So, we were fortunate enough to have enough funding that we could do some renovations to a very dated station in the hopes of retaining and recruiting new staff members. Some of the renovations we put in place, we replaced all the light fixtures with energy efficient LED lights to provide updated lighting and comfort while reducing energy consumption. Replaced outdated flooring with modern LVT plank flooring to provide comfort of home feel with easily cleanable surfaces for a healthier environment. We replaced all the hardware with antimicrobial resistant hardware to eliminate spreading of germs. Installed all proper ADA signage throughout the station. Replaced all the kitchen countertops with a more friendly to clean top. Painted all the interior spaces. Updated red lights in the bunk rooms for station alerts at night. Purchased and installed all new furniture in the day room to provide an area where crews can comfortably relax. Installed new bottle fillers, water fountains to provide clean filtered drinking water and lessen the use of plastic bottles. Installed 2 large industrial fans in the apparatus bays for proper air circulation. Some new point of use hot water heaters for energy efficiency, and numerous pieces of equipment for the healthcare providers. I will not pretend to understand half of the equipment that we bought. I trusted them in getting the best equipment to best serve our community.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners?
The only thing
Great job.
we
Thank
will
you.
have to do at some time is come back. I probably will need to bring an agenda item back to absolve the oversight once we had to check and everything is there. That's part of the requirement for their loan. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is adequate public facilities ordinance, APFO, mitigation request, Elmwood Farms, Section 5B.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jill Baker, Director of the Department of Planning and Zoning.
Jim Fitzgerald.
Today, what we're seeking to do is to allow the developer of Elmwood Farms subdivision in Williamsport to use the the alternate mitigation contribution for, sorry, I'm a little bit disoriented here. For mitigation of school capacity within the school district. So this development is located within the Fountain Rock Elementary, Springfield Middle, and Williamsport High School districts. At this point, the adequacy problem we have is at the elementary school level. Fountain Rock Elementary School is currently at a state-rated capacity of 129%. In accordance with the APFO, we only allow developments to go up to 120% of the capacity before we start the denial process of a subdivision plat. This particular subdivision actually, though, is a little unique to that situation. They fall under one of the exemptions that are allowed under the APFO, under Section 9(3)A. And that section that they qualify for states that developments with preliminary plat approval prior to July 1st would be exempt from, in 2005, would be exempt or be allowed to continue with their development using the AMC, or alternate mitigation contribution. So in this particular case, the developers are requesting to use that clause to continue with their development of the Elmwood Farm, Section 5B. So the request here today is for the commissioners to approve a mitigation plan of allowing them to continue use of the alternate mitigation contribution for this particular subdivision, and not have their plat denied as it would be normally the case under the APFO.
And you might want to add, Jill, the extensive conversation at the Planning Commission about this and what their thoughts were on it, and the fact that 5B is 22 lots, correct?
Correct. 5B would be 22.
And what happens is there another phase of 5C?
So there's new phases coming in, but they are changing the layout of the property, which requires a new preliminary plat, which would then, that would disqualify them from
Right.
this exemption.
Because they were prior to 2005. So all we're concerned with today is 5B, 22 lots.
Correct.
And they qualify under the July 1st, 2005 exemption.
That is correct.
And I think the Planning Commission was unanimous, it was okay. Am I correct on saying? I'm pretty sure
I don't
that's
believe this has gone to Planning Commission.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Did you?
Yeah, we did. Weren't you there, Bill, when we talked? Okay, yeah.
We have a copy of the 2005, February 7 minutes through the preliminary plat. This is the first one of these I've seen since the APFO was involved.
You know, it's, for me, I've been sort of involved in it, and I don't, all full disclosure, I don't know the developer. I don't, since it was 2005 and the exception, it's only 22 lots in 5B, and you're obviously going to pay the adequate facility fees. Yeah, I'd probably be okay with it.
So can I ask a question about the APFO fees? What is that dollar amount you're going to pay them anyway? Like, what is it exactly that we are foregoing or?
$45 per single-family lot.
Yes.
Okay.
$3,345 per single-family lot. So
And that
that's
will
what
be
they.
paid?
Yes, that's what will be paid as part of the subdivision plat approval.
What are we giving up? Like what is our?
Is that a higher
concession?
rate?
No, it is not a higher
not,
rate.
okay.
That is the general rate that we have everybody pay for single-family homes.
What are we approving? What's the concession? Like,
So basically, there's no concession per se, but we're allowing them to exceed the state-rated capacity by even more than what it is today. Now, I should caveat this statement by saying that Fountain Rock Elementary is part of the scheduled redistricting and building of the new Downsville Pike School out by the Board of Education. So I believe that is within our capital program, and I believe it's set to open in FY '26. So that could be a boon for this development in terms of adding capacity to that district.
do you know, Joe, once the new elementary school is opened, what the capacity will be on day one with the combined schools?
I don't know for sure. From past experience, I think it's around 600 students.
And like, how does that compare to Fountain Rock being 129%.
So,
capacity.
current capacity at Fountain Rock School, the state-rated capacity is 271 students. Hickory, which is the other one that would close, has a current capacity of 268. So you're looking at, a little over 500 students that would produce, hopefully, a little over 100 empty seats. And this development, 22 lots, would create approximately 9.5 elementary school students.
Okay, so that capacity issue will be corrected with the addition of the new elementary school?
Yes, it should.
So that's just a temporary,
Yes, it should.
It's a break.
okay.
Motion to approve?
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Motion to go in closed session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Let's take a 5-minute recess before we go into closed session.